good, everybody? This is Al Bear from the HipHopHumboldt podcast, voted best podcast in Humboldt. Got to say it one time.
Let's go.
And today, we got a very special guest. We got somebody in the media. I like to say hip-hop media. That's how we got you out here.
Okay.
And
I like that.
artist as well.
Yes.
The Miss Rhi Marie.
Yay.
Let the people know who you are.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, first of all.
Hey, thank you for coming. This
It's
is like
Rhi Marie.
Full circle.
I know. No, it feels funny being on the other side of this. And like, I want to like ask you all these questions. Be like, how was your day?
Yeah, I felt like the last time I seen you was the December. Well, one last time it was the December show, and you're interviewing everybody in the back. I felt like I had to get, show you, you're asking me questions. I had to hit you with one back.
I think you were one of the first. I think maybe you're the only person that asked me a question. I was like, oh shit.
I was just me practicing, but
wait, can we curse? Is it okay? Okay.
Yeah, this is you're not on air. We can say you say what you want.
Okay.
Where's the gun?
Hey. Getting crazy.
Yeah, but let the people know who you are. Let them know what you got going on.
Yeah. I'm Rhi Marie. All my friends call me Rhi. Whole name is Rhiannon, like the Fleetwood Mac song. Shout out Stevie Nicks. I musician at heart. I'm an artist. I graduated with my bachelor's in music at Cal Poly about almost 2 years ago, which doesn't seem real.
Damn.
Yeah.
So one of my first questions is were you an artist before you started doing the interviews?
I'm going to say no, but yes and no. Now that I'm like, when you like turn 25, you have all this perspective and you're like, you look back at your life, you're like, oh shit. Originally no, but when I was a kid, I took piano and singing lessons really early. Like when I was really, really young, my aunt, she was just like, pick something. You need to do like an after school activity. Like you got to do something. I didn't want to do dance. I was like, I'm going to join the music class. And so like little Rhi, I think I was like 6 or 7.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how young. I don't know how little it was. Maybe it was older, but I remember being like hella tiny. And we took piano and we did singing. And then at the end of the semester, whatever, they give you this little trophy.
Oh, wow.
That you like graduated, you know?
So you're telling me you've been a musical genius since you was a little kid. Let me find out.
I'm just saying my dad has really, really good taste in music. I'm like probably my mom too, but I didn't like get to know her until I was older. But my dad, like he had me listening to like the classic hits straight out they named me Rhiannon,
Yeah.
So like they had good taste in music. From the get, Yeah,
so that's one thing I do remember from when I was doing the interview with you on your show.
Yeah.
Is that you're saying that your pops used to ride around with you in the car with you.
Yeah.
Was that a big part of like where you got your musical taste from?
Bro, that's probably like a core memory for sure. Like he would be in the car and he'd have like his little Jeep or his truck or something, and we'd always be like crammed in there. And he like a big memory is like he'll take off the Jeep doors, like because we live in San Diego and it'd be hot, so it'd be like perfect weather, and he would just like drive us to school at like 7 a.m. with no doors doors on the freeway. And I would be so pissed because I was like a young girl back then, and I'd like be like so self-conscious about my hair. And like, Dad, you're ruining my hair. Like I can't be on the freeway. So dude, I have to like put my hoodie on, like do my hair, put my hoodie on, and like have it all tight. But in those moments he'd like blast music in the morning. Like he'd blast like Nirvana, hieroglyphics, he'd like blast music.
So
and
like two different. So he had a wide range of music. He put you on.
Yeah, he says like because my dad, he was born in TJ, right? So my dad was born in TJ. We have all my family in Mexico, and he would go, and my uncles actually introduced my dad to rock. Which is funny because like pure like Mexican dudes, super like not the people you would think is like rock, but Mexicans love rock. Okay, anyone who's like listening, we love our rock music. We love classic rock. And so they like showed him rock music, and ever since then my dad's been like super into rock. But then he'll have like a random hip hop track or like a random MIA track, like I'm like, Dad, what the hell? He's like, it's a good song. And he's like, I can't help it. And I'm like, what the hell? And I always thought it was so random. And now growing up, I'm like, damn, my dad had like a sick ass playlist.
It's always nice though whenever you like. It's always in hindsight. You don't realize how much music you get put onto. Because for me, for instance, it's like my dad was really into rock. And then my mom was like really into oldies. Okay. But the music that they agreed, like that they listened to together, was reggae music. So.
Yo, that's so cool. That's such a like those like different worlds.
Yeah, and like growing up, it's just music to you. Yeah. But then like the older you get, you realize like the significance of like having good music around you growing up.
Like instilled in you, like hearing it young. No, yeah, I didn't think about that because when you grow up and you like talk to people like, hey, what did you listen to when you were a kid? What did your parents listen to? It's like really big. I'm like, oh. Like your parents didn't show you that. Like that's weird.
All right, so I do have a question for her. So you always it sounds like you like a lot of like older hip hop, classic hip hop, right? Mm-hmm. And you're young yourself. So
I turned 26.
Yeah, that's young. I just turned 30.
There we go.
But so I've grown up. My brothers and sisters, I was listening to their music. So I don't feel like that music's old just because, I was young hanging out with older people. Yeah. You kind of like get the same thing where they're like, oh, you listen to old school, but you like kind of have that feeling of like, this isn't like old school. But, just because we're like young and around older music. Yeah.
Like every time, like when I mentioned hieroglyphics, to me, those are like foundational, like everyone knows the hieroglyphics. And then when you like talk about it, people are like, who? Like, I didn't know. And then, like, they hear a song, they're like, oh, yeah. I'm like, bro, this is, like, all I listen to. How can you? It was just so weird. But I think the biggest thing, since I am, on the younger side, I was the biggest Eminem stan. Like, in Chula Vista, I swear, like, dude, I would go hard for Eminem.
What was your favorite song at that time from Eminem? What would you like go to? I was a little
savage. I was like, I think it still is to this day, maybe Spacebound or Stay Wide Awake. Uh-huh. Oh my God. That whole fucking album. I think those two are on the same album. Don't come after me. But I would like beg my dad. I was like, Dad, can you I made him download every Eminem album like on my iPad. My iPod. I was like, Dad, please.
Was Pops letting you listen to Slim Shady too?
Yeah. No, he was like, he was like letting me download it because he got me a little iPod Shuffle back in the day when you couldn't see the fucking screen. Yeah. Nowadays kids are like, put it in your hair. And he got me this little fucking iPod Shuffle, and then like every month or birthday or whatever, he'd be like, oh, what do you want me to download from iTunes for you? And then he'd download all these music, but he'd rip it so he wouldn't have to pay for it. So he'd like rip it and he'd like do it off a CD. I don't know. He fucking know how to like rip CDs.
Hey, see, Pops was on something. He was on something because me growing up, we've kind of lost that album, an album would drop, you listen to the album, and then you have to wait a month or two for the next album to drop. Yes. So for him to like break down albums for you like that was just like, I think that's important.
No, I think that's a great point because now to this day, I'm a big album person or just like a whole project, listening to it from like beginning to an end. Like if somebody was like, I put this album out, and they're not like, oh, it's just you can listen to it in whatever order. Then I'm like, whatever. Mm-hmm. But when someone's like, nah, this is a story. It's like beginning, middle, end. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna listen to this like over and over and over. Yeah. I'm gonna be like obsessed with it. Like I'm like super into stories and shit. So I love a good album. And like he would download all the Eminem albums and the Nicki Minaj albums.
Oh, the Nicki.
So it'd be like too, huh? It would be like old Nicki and it would be like Eminem, and those two were like my main squeeze. I'd be like walking to school. I'd be like, hey. And dude, I would get so like territorial over the fact that like I was a big Eminem stan because dude, like the boys would come and they'd be like, you don't like Eminem, like you don't even know what song, like when you would show up with a t-shirt and then people
be
like,
a real Eminem fan. They'd be like 5 songs.
Literally like fucking PTSD, name 5 songs. And then so me and this kid had like a fucking battle of like how many songs we can name. And I'd be like, nah, I bet I can name more songs than you know, like right now. And I won. Right? I named more, and he didn't know Spacebound or Stay Wide Awake. And I was like, are you a real fan though? Like, I don't think you are.
I don't think so. It's crazy. I do have like a strange relationship with Eminem's music because I used to steal my older brother's Marshall Mathers EP.
Yup.
And, you know, of course, my favorite song was Marshall Mathers just because it was so wild. Like, as a kid, listening to, like, you might see me jogging, you might see me walking, a dead vibe on a dog.
You're like, what the hell's going on?
Oh, my God.
No. Like, nowadays, like, I grow up, I'm like, okay, yeah, he's just, like, great with wordplay. This man can tell a story. People can hate on him for whatever. But, like, when I was listening to Eminem, I was like, holy shit, like... all these stories in my head. I was like little. The fact that my dad didn't question like that it was weird that this little girl was like wanting Eminem.
Yeah.
You know, like he talked about crazy shit. that fucking song Stay Wide Awake is basically about him fucking murdering someone.
Yeah, no, that's...
Yeah.
I always think about that shit too. Is like, I listened to Bone Thugs growing up, like a lot. And I think about it now, I'm like, what in the hell was my mom thinking letting me listen to Bone Thugs? And I don't, maybe it's just they kind of know what we got, you know, if you're listening to something like that at a young age and you're like, you're not necessarily listening for the lyrics, you're liking it for what it is.
Yeah, I think sometimes parents don't think like the kids will remember. Like they're like, oh no, they're not going to remember the words. It's in the background. And then we grow up, we're like, I remember everything.
Joke's on you, Mom.
Yeah, like I'm a rapper now, Mom. Joke's on you. No, but Bone Thugs is big. I didn't start listening to Bone Thugs, I think, since till I was like a little older, maybe like 10, 12.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, now the Bone Thugs, I'm sorry. I'm telling you, I've listened to the music that my older brothers and sisters were listening to. So like that's one thing that was always played in the house.
Yeah. Did they have like record players? Did they? What did they have?
It was just
like CDs?
You know, like CDs and tapes and stuff. You know, and then I remember I got fixated on like this Bone Thugs VHS that my sisters had, and I would like watch it over and over and just like watch videos and watch them. Yeah. But yeah, that show was. It was just different. Like
it was different.
It was different. Just I feel like music's just so accessible now, and everything's so accessible now. So, what are your thoughts on like? What are your thoughts about that? Like keeping everything, you know, because a lot of people make music now. So how do you feel like keeping your stuff like different, like in the mix of everything that's going on?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think it's hard because now everyone can like, it seems like everyone and their damn mama is making music. You know, it's like it feels like that. But I think when you go into it and you start creating like your own world and you start having like people you're start like being close with, I think you start diving in. You're like, oh wait, there's all these different things that haven't been touched and this and this. And I think for me, it's like really important to like think small and not think about like what everyone else is doing. I think it's so hard because like me who loves literally almost every genre of music, it's so hard. When I was writing this first song that I'm about to release, I was like, what style do I want to like? I had no idea. I wrote the lyrics, and usually people like to have the beat and then write the lyrics, you know, and I was just writing, and this is the song I picked to like make for my first one because it meant a lot to me. And then because I love rap music, but I was like, am I gonna put out rap music? Am I going to put out hip hop?
Yeah.
And so it was a really like hard question to be like, what is my image? Like, what is this? What is that? And I was like, I just want to make sure I'm like not faking and I'm just like staying myself. I think it's really important because you like lose sight of like people's own, I think like personality when you try to be this and this. And I think you have to like look into yourself and be like, well, what do I want to be? And like, can I keep doing that for a long time, you know? And so I think I have like this best of both worlds of being from San Diego, but now living in Humboldt, and like my hippie side and my street side are like coinciding with one. I'm a little hood hippie now.
I feel that.
Yeah, it's funny. And I learned a lot in school, which made my whole like idea of music change, which we talk about a lot on my show at Humboldt Hot Air. I talk a lot with a lot of artists and a lot of people who graduated from like the music department. It's like really hard, and it felt hard to be creative. You know, like you're learning all this shit. You're learning theory. You're learning ear training. You know, you're learning your instrument, and like you're putting all this work in, and then it feels like for some of us, we don't do like that much work for our own selves. Like we're doing this for like teachers and a grade and like a diploma. And then after, like, oh shit, did I create anything for myself?
Yeah.
And then after, I was like, I really should do this, and I really need to like put something out there.
Yeah.
And so I've dealt with like a lot of loss and a lot of pain and like a lot of like terrible shit in my life. And so I think the first song I wanted to write, I didn't want it to be like super happy or like kind of, I didn't want it to be like, you know, a song you just put out for clout. I was like, oh, this is a sad song, and it's maybe not the best idea to for, you know, your first song, but it's like, it means a lot to me. And I think the people that I wrote it for, it's mainly for them, you know? And I was like, I need to write this for the people.
And that's the thing that's I feel like that's what sets you aside, you know, as an artist, and just is because you're making something from the heart. Yeah. You know, you're putting something out, and like, it's a very, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like a very vulnerable, you're in a very vulnerable state when you made this song. Super. And it's very scary putting out music like that. Yeah. Because you don't know how it's going to be received. Yeah. But in the end, that's what makes you, because you're speaking your truth. Yeah. How, like, so you just spoke a lot on it, but like, how important is it to you to speak the truth in all your music?
I think it helps you write better. I think it helps you write easy, and things come like from the heart. Like for years, you know, I've been writing, and I was in school and I was writing, and I was like always like had these little songs, these little ideas, and nothing ever felt like, oh, I want to show this to people, or like I want to play this, or always like second guessing. I was like, oh, what am I gonna do for like? Because nowadays you gotta promote your own music, so you gotta do like 10 times the work after you write the song. Like, you know, like it's so much fucking work. So when I was thinking about that, I was like, oh my God, what am I getting myself into? Because I did the song and I recorded it, and I put out the demo on Bandcamp, and I literally just did like produce the song in my bedroom, recorded it in my bedroom. I was like, I just need to like sing this right now. And like after, I was like really emotional after. And I was like, oh my God, I'm just going to release it. And like, I've never had that like idea of like, I'm just going to release it, because that's so fucking scary. Like it wasn't finished. Like it wasn't really finished. It wasn't like mastered. Like it was super raw, like in its rawest form. And I was like, whatever. Like I'm put on Bandcamp. And then I was like, oh my God, I really like the song, and I want to do all these things with it. And then I hit up Eli, and I was like, hey, can you help me like re-record some things and like put some things together? Because I know how to make music, you know, like in the room, on the spot. Like I can read music. But when it comes to like producing, it's a whole different game. It's a whole other beast. And like I'm good at the computer, but I was like, I think I'm gonna want some help with this one.
Yeah. And shout out to Juice. Shout out to Juice. How did you feel? What was your experience over there?
It was good. I was so nervous.
What you nervous
for?
Bro,
I was nervous. Bro, I've never walked into a recording booth before. Ever in my life. Wow.
Yeah. That's what's good about Juice's spot is because it's like it's comfortable.
It is.
So like I remember recording with them first couple times, and like I was just nervous because you know I've heard the name, and you know it's like the Juicebox and City Hippie. But once you get in there, you're like, oh man, this is chill.
Yeah, you know, I wanted to make sure I just went ready. Like I knew what I wanted to like say. And then after that, I was like, well, whatever happens. I don't know. Like,
this is exciting, man.
No,
How did that feel though? Like after that session and you left and then you heard your voice mixed down and like.
It didn't feel real. I was like, who is that? I was like, is she me? No. And then, cause he plays it for you on the speakers. And then it feel like, you know, I listen to so many other people's music. I love people's music, and I support people so much, and I support their journey. So I love to hear them grow, and I love to hear different things. And so when I was hearing my song, I was like, oh my God, this is so weird.
It's such a wild thing.
It is a wild thing. And then because I'm like, I'll take something and I'll work on it like a million times. And so when I hear something, I probably just wanted to, like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do this. And I had to like tell myself, like, don't overthink it and like don't change it too much, or else you're going to keep working on it forever. Because like we did it, and then the first recording, we did like one recording session, and then I got the like final piece, and then I was like listening to it, and I didn't want to release it yet. I was like, I feel like something is missing or something, and then we went back a second time, and then after that time, I was like, oh yeah, I was like, this is it, because if not, I'm gonna keep fucking wanting to change it and wanting to like redo things. And that's like the one thing about recording, because I'm on the radio, and it's like you just do one thing, boom, it's out. But once you like listen to something like over and over again, you're like, oh my God, I want to like change this. I was like, do I really sound like that? And it was just so interesting, because I'm usually like playing instruments, and it was like kind of the first time I was like actually singing and doing voice, because I'm like, I don't think of myself as a singer. But like, I mean, I have the training, and I was like, I think I have a pretty good voice. But I was like, I don't think of myself as a singer. So I was like, it was so weird having my voice as like the main thing, you know?
Yeah, like the main thing.
Because like for a long time I was listening to the instrumental when I was making it. I was like,
so
piano.
Did you make the beat for this single?
I did.
You made the whole thing?
I did.
Damn.
I did.
Look at me. Find out. Shit.
Shout out GarageBand.
Hell yeah.
And then
you did off the GarageBand too?
I did.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That's impressive. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
So
I love
all you young listeners out there. See what's going on here? Make like producing, singing, all self-made right here. You feel me? That's hard. That's hard.
Yeah, that was also my biggest thing of like, I know that like people make beats, and I know that, you know, people can make all these great things. And I was like, I wanted to make sure my first song I did like mostly all by myself. You know, I was like, I needed some help to like finish it up. But I was like, I want to make sure that like I had a say on like what it sounded like, or, you know, this and that. And I had all these ideas, and then like every time I'm on, you know, my phone, I'm on GarageBand, I have like all these different beats. And then I was like, I want to make this as simple as fucking possible. And I think it's only like piano, drums, a little bit of like other beat going on, and like some fancy vocal shit. Some like twinklies. I love the twinklies.
Yeah, well, if you're like saying something, that's how I feel about music, is like if you're saying something important, like what you're telling me, you wrote this very important song.
Yeah.
Like the beat sometimes needs to be taken down into a simpler level, so your voice can kind of like carry the song. You feel me? So that's why like I'm a big fan of Frank Ocean, because a lot of his beats are like simpler, but then he's always talking about something like real big. Is that how you kind of approach this song?
Yeah, I wanted to keep it simple for myself as my first like song. I didn't want to overdo it and add so many different layers. I also wanted to make sure that I can like recreate it, you know, because I was like, well, I want to make sure I can recreate this if I want to do it live or something. Like I want to make sure that I don't just make this beat and then have to just solely rely on the beat, you know? And so I was like, okay, well, I like want to make sure that I know the piano sounds, and I know like this and that. And when I was thinking like, oh, what instrument should I do? Because I play piano and I play saxophone. I play the alto sax. And so I was like, am I going to have like alto in this song? And blah, blah, blah. And I was like thinking about it from all these different angles. I was like, maybe I should just keep it simple. And at first it was just going to be guitar. And I was like going to have one of my friends do it. And then I was like, I just kind of wanted to keep it really intimate, because I also didn't know like how I wanted it to sound yet. And then I made it. I was like, okay, this is it.
It's just like, I love that feeling. I love that feeling whenever you just like, you're working on something, and you finally,
and then
like,
it hits.
You're like singing it out loud, and you're like, okay,
and it was so weird, because I didn't have the beat when I wrote the like lyrics, right? So I'm just writing these lyrics, and like I didn't know how they wanted to sound. I didn't know if it wanted to be like fast or slow or this and that. So the first time I did the recording, like the raw version, it's really slow. But the new version, the single I'm going to put out January 26th next week.
Let them know. January 26th. What's the name of it? Come on.
Butterfly Souls.
Butterfly Souls.
Yes.
Speaking on some real topics.
It's a song about people that you lost in your life. And like, you know, in my Mexican culture, we have like this belief that when we see butterflies, it's like loved ones or like souls or people that have passed away. And so
shout out the monarch butterflies.
I know that. Yeah, so it's like pretty important in my culture. And like I said, it's like for all the people that I've lost, which knowing so much loss in your life is not fun, you know, and like being so young and losing friends and, you know, family members, you have to like deal with that. And I think all my emotions came out in this song. And I was like, I want to make sure I write for my friends and my family and people who have like lost people in their life. So hopefully.
Would you feel like this song was like a very needed therapy session?
Oh yeah, bro. I'm like, I need to take a break. No, when I finished it and when I like, because I have all these papers and I had all these different ideas, and when I originally wrote these lyrics, I was writing a song about my friend Gyps, and I met her here in Humboldt, and she was the coolest fucking girl you'll ever meet. It's like the girl walking down the street, playing music, like singing to herself, rapping to herself, like tatted, you know, like she's just so fucking cool. And so I met her and we immediately became friends. And then like a couple years later, she took her own life. And then that really made me like rethink shit, like rethink, you know, making sure you check on your friends. And making sure, like, you just say hi or, you know, because, like, COVID happened and then everyone, like, kind of separated. And so I was like, oh, shit. I was like, I really am, like, not feeling creative, didn't want to do anything. And so the first song was, like, actually writing about her. And I was writing about, like, how we would smoke all the time and she would just like rap, dude. She was like actually good at fucking rapping. Like, you know, like she would actually be like, you know, there'd be a beat and she'd be like, oh, I wrote this last night. And she was like, I was practicing it all night type shit. And she would just be rapping and smoking. And those are like my favorite memories of her, you know? And so I was writing a song about her and it kind of went in like all these different directions. I started thinking about all these different people in my life. And then I was like, oh, I don't want it to be so sad. I was like, I kind of want it to be like uplifting, you know? And so it like split into two different songs. And that's kind of how Butterfly Souls came into fruition.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that because you take the time to curate a song. You know, it's like you got your reference track.
Yeah.
And then and then that leads up to your actual formed song.
Yeah.
How important is it to you to like take time your music?
Now that I'm just starting to record and like put out something, I just want to take it slow and not do things too fast. But when I would perform and when I would get ready for a song, I would work. I think I'm used to it because I would work on a piece of music for when I was newly playing an instrument for like weeks or months, and I would just focus on that one piece. And like when something was hard on a piece of music, you'd like play something over and over and over and over and like till you got it, you know? So I'd be like sitting on the piano playing over and over and over again until like I got like that one measure right. Because I knew my teacher was going to be like focusing on that one thing. And so I'm like really used to taking a long time with like a piece of work and like really making sure like everything sounds right. And now that I'm like starting to release things, I think I just want to take it slowly because I'm also like still feel like I'm getting my bearings, even though I've been playing music for like 5 years now.
Well, those are two different things.
Yeah,
you know, like playing music live and actually recording a track.
Yeah.
Like, those are two separate things.
Yeah, because I feel like, you know, I've been on stage, I've had my recitals, and I've had like people I've worked with. Like, I love playing live music. I feel like there's like no better like feeling than playing music live, when you gotta like listen to everybody and you gotta like listen for things to change and like look at the person. When you gotta like figure out everything, that's like when my brain is working the most. And so it's different, and I wonder like how it's gonna be like transitioning from like doing that to like trying to put it on a song. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
are we gonna be seeing some Rhi Marie live here soon?
Hopefully.
So you trying to take it to the stage, huh?
Yes. I don't know if this one is it's like very intimate, you know. So maybe if I come out with another track.
Hey, don't be afraid of those intimate songs. Oh, no, you know,
no.
People want to hear that.
It has to be the right show.
Exactly.
You know, it has to be the right vibe, the right show.
Because Albert Presents are very intimate shows. Hopefully we can see that live soon.
Talk about full circle moment though. That's like when I met you and David. At one of those shows, and I was like, yo, like I was like really amazed at like what you guys are doing. I was like, oh shit, this is cool. Like, I'm like, I want to be a part of this somehow, some way.
It's been fun. Yeah, and you support, you pull up all the time.
Yeah.
So and the more you come around, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
The more I start seeing this, I was like, you're doing shit now too. Like, we gotta get you on the podcast. This is right.
I'm so happy to be here. It's fun.
Hell yeah, that's what we do.
I'm excited to sit down and talk to you.
That's my whole thing. You have an interview with Albert. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna drink some coffee. We might drink a beer. We might send out some sheets. You know. Nah, but where do you like balance the two of creating and being this musician, but at the same time interviewing musicians?
Oh yeah, I've thought about that. So okay, so anyone who's listening, what I do like as my job is I'm on the radio, right? So I'm talking to thousands of people every day, playing music. And then what I do for fun is hip hop or Humboldt Hot Air, and I'll do my hip hop show. And I love doing like every Friday. I look forward to that Friday, 1:00. I was like, oh yeah, because I feel like I can be in like such my element. Because I did college radio, like the whole time I was in college, like the whole entire time I did KRFH. Shout out KRFH. And I just love being around radio. And there's something about like, what's it called? Like underground radio. Yeah. Like that's more fun, I think, than, and on Humboldt Hot Air, you can say whatever you want. You can like express yourself differently than like on a different radio station. And I think it's so fun to like connect the two worlds of like me interviewing other artists and me like being so obsessed with music, because it makes it easier to be like, hey, you love this because of this, and like it just makes it easier because I feel like I know how they think. And I know that like a lot of people get nervous, and I think I can like gauge really well how someone is feeling, and I can be like, oh, like let's talk about this, or let's talk about something else, and I think I'm really good at listening to people. It's like a big fucking thing of like interviewing is just like listening to people. But I don't know, I think I just got it from being on college radio and then being surrounded by so many musicians that I look up to. Like, holy shit, dude, the musicians at Cal Poly, I'm like, there's something else. Like, I was like so grateful for the chance to like play with some of these people, because I'm like, oh my god, you guys are like fucking cool. Like, oh my god, there's this one alto player, Rebecca, and she's like my fucking idol. And like the fact that I've gotten to play next to her, just like next to her in like concerts and shit, I'm like, oh my god, I feel so cool.
Well, it's like in a way, it's like a self-validation where you're like, okay, if I'm standing next to this person that I look up to, I'm supposed to be here. Yeah. And it feels, it feels good.
I was like, I worked really hard. Yeah. Like, because when you don't know an instrument and you going into an instrument you don't know, it's a lot of work. Like alto sax, learning a reed instrument is not easy. Like getting sound out of that baby was not
if it was not that easy, everybody would be doing it.
Exactly. And I put in hours and hours and like auditioned for different things and shout out jazz band because I learned so much. And from my teacher, her name was Ginny, and Ginny was my alto sax teacher, and then Daniela was my piano teacher.
Oh, damn.
And it was because of those two ladies that I probably graduated, because there'd be some days where I was like, I'm not motivated, or like I don't feel good enough. Like, dude, some people there have been playing music their whole lives, you know? And so when you're surrounded by people who are just like, who've been naturally talented their whole life, and you're like learning and you're trying to keep up, you're like, oh fuck, it's a little intimidating, you know? And I was like, I felt like I had to learn so much like so quickly, like just to catch up to these people. I was like, fuck, I just want to like be where they are, you know? Like, but I had to take it easy with myself, and I had to give myself a couple years to learn. But now I think a year ago I bought my own alto sax.
Oh, okay. So are you gonna be putting that in your music as well, like in your personal music?
Yeah. I think I am. I'm gonna create some beats, something beautiful. But I also want some of my other friends to come on and like hop on stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, I know all these like really talented people, and I was like, I want a way other than interviewing people. I was like, I want a way to like keep you guys in my world and like keep collaborating and see what they're doing, and because like these people keep me motivated and inspired every time I see like their stuff. I'm like, oh my god, like yes, let's keep going. Like, you know, like it just, when you see people that are like in your area, not like a mega superstar, you know, it's easier to like look up to them. It's easier to be like, okay, like I see what they're doing, I can do that too, you know?
Yeah, it's nice to keep people that inspire you around you.
Yes, that's my biggest thing. It's like in school, once I started like really focusing on music, I was like, I'm just going to talk to the people that like I want to learn from, you know, like I'm going to just surround my people like with the smart kids type shit. But even then, like even when I graduated, I started playing with this group of people, Hyperion, and like they are some really talented musicians. And so I was like, hell yeah, I want to play with you guys. Like the fact that you even asked me, I was like, hell yeah. So it's been cool to just even play like little venues around here in Humboldt. You know, it's really cool to see. But
so you from the SD area, right?
Chula Vista.
What's the support like from your peoples back home?
Yeah, I think it's smaller than it is here because of the amount of time that I've put in to like my relationships here in Humboldt. But friends and family support hella, you know, like my friends that my best friend since high school, shout out to my friend Talia. We just literally got off the phone like yesterday, and she's always trying to make sure to call me and like say like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm so proud of you. And she's like, you're so cool. And I always tell her, I was like, Talia, I want to be like you when I grow up. And she's like, I want to be like you when I grow up. She's like a year older than me. But yeah, I have like a little small group in San Diego, and you know, the people that support you online, I think shouldn't get overlooked either. Like the friends that you haven't really spoken to since high school, but like they're still liking your shit, they're still commenting, they're like, oh my god, I hope you do amazing. Like those people. Yeah, a lot of love goes out to those people who are just like, you don't really talk to, but they're still supporting you, and you're still supporting them. So I think there's like a little group, a little niche in Chula Vista.
Like, do you think it's important to keep contact with a lot of those people, because like, in some way does it like feel like it keeps you grounded and keeps you true to yourself?
Oh yeah, dude, one of my New Year's resolutions is to call my friends and family more often.
That's a good one.
Oh my god, it's so hard. Like I'm sure like, you know, like you do like a million things like every single day, and dude, like I just have to remember, since I'm so far away, it's like, I can't forget about the people that, you know, mean the most to me. Mm-hmm. And then like, I hate when like so much time goes by and then like you have to like catch people up, you know? I'm like, oh, I don't want to keep doing that. I've been gone for years and years. I've been like up here for like 6 years, 7 years. And sometimes it feels like I have to tell these people like so much, which is fun. But then other times I'm like, I want them to be more involved in my day to day. And I want to know about them, you know? I'm like, how are you guys doing? I feel like such a stranger when I come back home, like shit. And then even like my family members back home, like in Mexico and shit, like I'm trying to make sure I like message them and like see like how they're doing, how my cousin's doing, because oh my God, it's hard.
Yeah.
And, like
it's definitely got to be hard because, you know, doing what you do, you make your music, you got your job, not just two, you know, I consider the 2 jobs, you know?
Yeah.
And on top of that, all the extra stuff that comes with it, setting this up, setting that interview up, and then at the same time having to be like, oh, wait, I got to call everybody.
And I'm a big person for like alone time and like being in your alone time and like being in your little cocoon. And I like to go and drive out to the beach and write and listen to music. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I should be doing something else. Like when I'm like having those like times where I'm like need to decompress, I'm like, fuck, I should be doing something, you know, like. Yeah. But I think it's good to remember, like make sure like you're okay, and then you can help your people, you know.
Yeah, definitely. That's just like also something I've been struggling with. I'm I'm happy you brought that up. Yeah. That's something I've been struggling with is, you know, we got everything going on and like, you know, I'm always on my phone. Yeah. But it's like I don't take that time to like just swipe right and just like text my mom real quick.
It's so hard, dude. Yeah. Like I find myself on my phone. I'm like, I need to put it down and, you know, like FaceTime my friend or something. So I feel that. And it's like hard because you just want to be like, oh, I work so much and I want this time to myself.
Yeah. So you say you're big on alone time and, you know, taking time for yourself. From artist to artist and, you know, interview to interviewer. I just want to know, how do you deal with like decompressing from like the whole work situation, you know, because like I consider all this work, you know.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes I get caught up myself in all this stuff, and where I find myself going to sleep, working, you know.
No, and like thinking about it.
Yeah. How do you take the time to like decompress from all this and just like you said?
I'm trying to get it better. It's like really funny because that you brought up sleep, because I'm trying to make sure I'm getting more sleep this year, because I like scared myself and like watching all these podcasts from doctors telling you like if you're up for 2 hours between 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. like you're like shaving years off of your life. And I was like, that's like the time I'm up. It's like that's like the time I get the most work done.
Yeah.
So I'm really trying to make sure that I get enough sleep. But other than that, I think I'm a big stoner. So I'll go and I'll be like, I just need to smoke a joint. I just need to like take a bowl and like take a second. Like if I'm getting too overwhelmed or like overworked, I'll just like go for a walk. Literally like go for a walk and put my headphones on and be like, I gotta sit, you know, like it's usually being outside. Yeah. Like I don't usually like being outside when I'm like, inside when I'm trying to like decompress, because I do all my work inside, you know. It's like my kitchen table is my desk, you know, and like I don't really have like a workspace. And that's also another thing is like separating work from home, because I work so much at home and I'm like I need to just like leave my house sometimes. So I think just listening to my favorite song, smoking a joint outside and being like, okay, I need to put my phone down, you know, like actually put my phone down and like maybe like throw it somewhere so I don't fucking look at it. Because that's the biggest thing. You could be like sitting down and be like, oh, let me answer this email. Oh, let me respond to this person. Oh, you know. Yeah. So I think it's hard, like separating, like communicating with everyone and trying to like do everything, and then like focusing on yourself is like a weird balance.
I think it's like a weird artist thing where you feel like Well, at least for me, it's like you feel like you have to kind of like be everything for.
Oh yeah, and then like everything's a inspiration, you know. Yeah. So like you're literally doing something, you're like, oh shit, you're like I can do this, and the way my brain thinks, I'll just be doing something, and I can think. I'm like, even at work, I'm like always thinking about, you know, Humboldt hot air, or I'm always thinking about like, even when I'm at work, I'm like editing a photo for like, you know, my song release, or like I'm always fucking doing something, and I need to remember to like do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like a weird thing of like, will I get all the work done if I don't do that, you know?
Yeah. And then like, let's not mention like the spurts of inspiration.
Exactly. Like, exactly. And then next thing you know, like months go by and you haven't wrote another song. You're like, oh shit. Yeah. You know? So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out, but my biggest thing is, getting my alone time and like listening to music. Also singing, like actually singing out loud to a song that you know like every word to, I think helps a lot.
Oh yeah, shit. That's
dude. I'll put on a song. I'll replay a song like 3 or 4 times if it makes me feel some type of way. I'll
be on the same shit. I find like one of my favorite songs. And I just, if I'm feeling it that day, like I'll put that shit on repeat.
On repeat. Yeah, because it's like something about physically like getting out the words and like singing it. And like, especially me, I'll be like, I'll sing it in this type of way or like this type of way. I'll be like, I'm gonna practice, you know? So I'll like always try to take an opportunity. But yeah, lately, is like reading and podcasts though. Like reading is a big thing, and it has to be quiet.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll be like, have my little joint and I'll read, and that's probably my favorite thing to like. I don't have anything in my hand like other than the book, you know, and I don't really like Kindles because they're still like there's something about a physical book that's like different.
Yeah.
And
it's like it's like writing your lyrics on physical paper opposed to writing on your phone. Yeah. What's your writing process like?
A pen and paper, and then okay, so I have both. I have my notes, and I have like all these random thoughts that come to my head randomly. And then like if I'm in the shower, if I'm in something, I have to like write it down. I also have voice memos. I'll be like voice memo something. And like voice memos are so funny because they always sound like so dumb. You're like, I got this cool ass idea. And you're like, watch, it goes like this, dun, dun. And you gotta like listen to it over, and you're like, oh God, you're like, what was I thinking? But when I first started, when I was like, okay, I'm going to start writing again, it was pen and paper. And I was like really, I have like this thing with like journals and making sure like it's the right journal or something. And I don't want to like write it on like whatever. I know some people like writing it on like whatever paper they have. But sometimes I'm like, oh, fuck, like I want to make sure it's in this journal. And when I was finishing the song, I did not stay true to that at all. There was like random pieces. I had like an envelope on my table, and like I came up with something, and I fucking wrote it down real quick. And I was like, oh my God, because I'd be forgetting shit, you know, like I was saying, I'm a stoner. So sometimes I'll be like forgetting these really good ideas that I have. And so I have like a finished lyric on this envelope, and I'm going to I keep it in my notebook. And so I like get really sentimental with the shit that I write down.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, there's something about pen and paper.
Yeah.
It's different. And sometimes I like colorful pens to make it fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, see, that's how I used to be. Like, lately I've been just like writing on my phone.
Yeah. Which it's easier. And like I've noticed when I was in the recording booth too, that I brought my phone. I didn't bring my notebook because I was like, I'm just going to hold it. You know, that's why I see people do it.
Yeah, but I do definitely notice the difference of like how much more concentration I have when it's just a pen and then the pad.
Yeah.
And I just have like 5 different ones scattered around my house.
Yeah.
It's like same, you know, you get inspired and you just start writing something, and then you put it down, and then you're somewhere else and you're just like, oh, hold up.
And it's not like, you know, on your phone you can delete and edit. Like you have so many pages because you think about something else and you're like, well, I had this idea, but I also have this one and I want to keep both of them, you know, like, and I'll have like arrows. I'll write these arrows. I'll be like, no, this will be here. I'm like, oh no, like this right here. Or like I'll switch shit around. And like, I'm like super new to songwriting. So even songwriting is like a learning curve, you know?
Do you have a favorite songwriter?
A favorite songwriter right now, since I'm on indie radio, That's like my main job. This one songwriter called Youth Lagoon and Maggie Rogers is like those two people, or like Meg Myers. Holy shit, they'll like make you rethink your whole.
In what way?
Well, this one guy, his name is Youth Lagoon. It's like one of his songs that I have on repeat, Prize Fighter, and it's just like him telling. I love when people can tell really good stories. I think that's like how I want to be, is like telling these stories of like, yes, it's kind of fiction, but it's based on like real people.
Yeah.
And so he has this story of like, he's telling the story about this guy, and he's like, he's a prize fighter and he has huge fists and he can even beat the devil up and type shit. And like, it's so cool. But then at the end, it's like sad. It's like his friend goes off to war and like, he doesn't come back. He wasn't able to say like bye, but then it's like a really happy song to be like, oh, I have the sunshine and like, you know, the birds and blah, blah, blah to like keep me happy. And so I hear that song. I'm like, oh my God, this man can write. Like, how am I feeling this many emotions in one song right now? Like how? And I think that's what I love about books and really good songwriters and like even rappers, even like that's even Eminem is like the fact that he can tell such a good story and like keep your attention. You're like, oh my God, I don't even care if this is crazy. Like, it's so cool. Like, it got my attention, like my ADHD ass, like, you know, like.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite albums like that was Good Kid, Mad City. The Kendrick joint.
Yeah.
Like, you can listen to that shit and it's like you can see every scene that's happening. Like, like vividly.
I think one of my favorite like hip hop writers, you know, has to be Mick Jenkins. Hands down. Like,
drink more water.
He'll never be able to live that shit down. No, like after I think senior year maybe is when I started listening to Mick Jenkins when he put out that Water album, and then after senior year it just kept getting better and better and better, and I was like, holy shit, this man is like like the world's best poet and nobody knows.
Nobody knows it.
But no, that man, like the way because he loves spoken word, you know, like that's his main thing, and that's kind of like what got him into music and writing. And he said that even sometimes when he's practicing a song, he would go and he would just go to spoken word and just like do it like that. And so I think his not his Patience album, that's the one that just came out, but what is the other album before that? I'm gonna have to go back to it, but it's basically him just saying, he's like on stage, and the whole album is just him kind of on stage on spoken word, and every song is like he's giving a new spoken word. And it's so cool. I was like, I can listen to this album through and through, like, man, and it makes you so introspective, you know. And it's the one with the glass is broken and
I can't think of the name, but I've gone through his albums. I like Mick Jenkins because like that whole little like Chicago scene that came out at that time was like the whole poetry shit. So it was like Chance the Rapper, Mick Jenkins, even, you know, Taylor Bennett, you know, No Name, like all those people were coming up at the same time, and it's all because they have that poetry.
Eric the Architect. I was super into Eric the Architect, and then it was really funny. I started realizing really like early on, I was like, oh my God, all my favorite rappers are from the East Coast. I was like, shit, I feel, and like Flatbush from the East Coast. Like Flatbush, I started listening to Flatbush early on.
Have you seen one of the shows yet?
No, bro. Oh my God.
You need to go.
I missed out on. Oh,
you need
man.
You need to check them out. You need to check them out. I got one little funny story. Is I was at this festival, and then Ty Dolla $ign's performing, and right after Ty Dolla $ign, it was Flatbush Zombies.
Oh.
And so Flatbush Zombies, you know, it's like 15 minutes in between sets. So that gives the crowd enough time to, you know, Ty Dolla $ign's crowd to get out and Flatbush Zombies. So what happened is there's so many people that wanted to see Flatbush Zombies is they like rushed the stage, and the people that were trying to get out of the Ty Dolla $ign show like we're getting like stuck in there, and like this pure fear on people's faces, like when they started. I think they opened up a Tombstone.
No.
You know, money on my head and my tombstone. Yeah, they opened up pure panic on like these people's faces because they knew it was about to happen. Like once that shit drops, they know the whole crowd's going crazy. And yeah, I kind of thought it was funny because I like Flatbush Zombies. I like the chaos. You know?
I'm the person that will go into before, I don't know about now. I was the person to go into the mosh, like Xavier Wolf and Bones and all them. I was able to see one of their shows in San Diego.
You saw Bones?
I did not see Bones, but I saw Xavier. And okay, it was a great 30 minutes that he was on stage.
Did you just go too crazy or what?
Like, too crazy, but also like such a tiny ass venue, and he wasn't as big as he is now. And like he was, that's like when rappers would like show up and not be somewhere that long and do like 3 of their songs and be like, okay, bye. Yeah. When we know like he has like hell of fucking music. And so yeah, I was with my sisters, and he gets on stage and I'm like fucking elbowing people, like, and I'm like, look back, and my sisters are like staying in the back. I was like, y'all are not coming with me? They're like, no, you can go by yourself. It's all good. And I'm over here and I was like, I'll be in the mosh, and like people sweating on you. Like if I'm a fan, I'm in there. Like I don't give a shit. Like I want to feel everything, Yeah. But now I don't know if I'll be in the mosh. We'll see.
Don't be afraid of the mosh pit. And that's the thing about like I love about music so much is that, I mean, for me, I'm still a fan. Number one.
Yeah.
Number one, always a fan because at any show, I don't like hanging out backstage.
Yeah.
Like you've been, I'm not I'm bouncing around everywhere and I'm in the crowd. Do you feel the same way? Like, do you feel like you would always like you being a fan still like makes you a good artist because you still enjoy the music?
I think so. I think I have to find a good balance of like being such a fan of somebody else and finding my own lane, because it could be so easy to be like, oh my God, I love them so much, I want to be like them,
Yeah.
So I think you have to make sure like you're not copying, you're getting inspired. But I think it helps when you're a fan because you'll be like, I just love music so much. And I feel like when you're not a fan, you're just like in your own world too much, and you're just like a little fool of yourself too much, That's
what I'm saying. You kind of lose the art.
Yeah.
You lose the art and you just get caught up in your world. But like I said,
then like what? You don't appreciate other people's music? Like what? You're just gonna listen to your own music?
Yeah. I've been there, younger. It's like I'm trying to perfect
like,
my music.
Shit,
I'm the one, and then like I listen to this tracks now and I'm like, oh my God, what were you even thinking, bro?
I think that's but I think that's also what I love about artists is like seeing them grow and seeing them go through that stage. Like I love seeing like Puya go through his crazy ass fucking stage, and then people still love him now that he's trying to be healthy, trying to stay clean.
He was wild. He was wild at like 15. Remember when he was like 15, 14? Those videos he was putting out. God. That's what made me want to listen to him.
I was like, who is this crazy white boy?
Yeah, I was like, why is he? Yeah,
bro has bars though. Like and so seeing an artist change, I think, is one of my favorite things of like seeing them go through these different like arcs. You're like, oh my God, okay, like when you're really young, artists are gonna say stupid ass shit. Like they're just gonna say dumb ass shit, and like it's gonna be probably pretty fire. And then you grow up and you go through all these life changes, and then your music changes with it. And I think that's my favorite part, is like seeing the stages, and like that's why I like albums so much. It's like because you can see somebody's work and you can be like, okay, this is how they were, and then they became this whole different person, and like they went through this and they went through that, and like you can kind of, I think good artists, you can like pinpoint different stuff in their life depending on which album it is, like, oh yeah, they were going through something during that album, like shit was crazy.
Do you like an artist that kind of like, you would say like, oh, they kind of spoke for me in this, like, their music's so wide, and you can kind of like pick through and be like, oh, I remember what I was going through this point in life. And then you go down later, oh, I remember what I was going through this point of life. Do you like artists like that?
Yeah. I think Mick Jenkins, like I said, back because he's put out so many music, and it's really easy for me to be like, okay, I graduated 2016. I think you released an album 2018. So it's like really easy for me to be like, oh yeah, this shit was happening, or this was happening. But like recently, like since I've been up here and like doing like school and college, like this one artist, her name is Big Pig, and she does like a really cool mix of like hip hop and jazz, you know, but she's a Latina artist, but she's in Europe, you know. So she has like this really cool, like chill, like you're like, you know, like you're in the smoke lounge, but like, you know, dropping some bars, like so fucking chill. And she's put out music, and like every single time I can like really like think like, oh yeah, I was going through this, and like and then COVID hit, and then, you know, oh yeah, she put out this thing, you know. It's like different life stages. Yeah, I
like that. I think like my guilt, like I'm gonna say it, like Drake's like that with me. There's so many Drakes. Like I'm like, man, I remember when I was like 17.
No, literally. Oh my God, Avril Lavigne and like Pink, probably.
Hey, my sisters listen to both of them, and
aside from Eminem, because I got all his music, but if we're talking like hardcore, I'm like, gotta love my girl Avril.
Well, they said she's a clone. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I don't think she's a clone.
That's a funny one. That's a funny one. But are there any like albums you're listening to? Like, what's some for your like? Are there any favorite albums you're listening to right now?
Right now, I should open my phone. Well, I'm listening on my way here. I was listening to the new 21 album.
Do you like it?
Yeah. My favorite song right now is "Prove It" with Summer Walker.
I haven't even touched that album yet. I've been like, that's my thing, is like I let the album kind of like simmer down.
It comes to you. Yeah.
I've been hearing a bunch of mixed reviews over the 21 album. Like some, you know, it's always been like, it's been 50-50. Like some people are like, oh, I like it. Some people hate it, you know?
I think if you've been, you know, rolling with 21 since the beginning, I think you're gonna like it. I think if you become like a newer fan, like later on, or if you're like, you know, the kids in high school who like listen to their music later on, I think maybe they're not gonna like it that much. I like it. Like even the intro, I think it's, I don't know if it's his mom or family member, but it's like this voice memo of this lady saying like all the things she's done for her son and for 21 and shit. And then it goes on. And then like he has these little things that like he could be hood, he could be ratchet, he could say all these things, but then he has like these little like real ass moments in the album. You're like, oh shit, like, you know, like you can tell like something was happening. Or you can tell like he's grown and he's changed, you know, like it's cool. And I like to see that.
Artist development.
But my favorite album that I'll listen to probably every single day is Vel 9, Trophy Wife.
That's your girl, huh?
That's my girl. If I could be like anyone when I grow up, it's gonna be like Vel. No, I've been listening to Vel for years when like she was underground, underground LA. Like nobody knew about her. She's still pretty underground, and like I think that's how she likes to keep it. She likes to do local shows, and she doesn't like to sign these like with big labels and shit. And, like she's just purely like a graffiti girl, you know. So she's like graph girl. She's into hip hop. She's into all this shit. And I'm like, oh my god, you're so fucking cool. But yeah, that album, Trophy Wife. Her new album's fire, but Trophy Wife is like the album I'll like put on. I'm like, I know all these words. I'm gonna like sing these songs, blah 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 blah. Like, oh, bro, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, no, that you gotta have those artists too. Where you just like, for me, like an artist like that, I'd be like Greedo,
yeah,
because
bro.
I've like seen, like I just like came across like some random video, and it's like some super underground, and then you just
now
see
that
where
he's out.
Now you're just like, oh man.
Yeah.
And it's just like so funny because you think it's like unattainable.
Yeah.
You know, because they're just like, they're just so big.
They're so big, but they have like these out of like world personalities. So they're so big, and like their social media presence is this or that. So I feel like the way you see them depends on like if you've seen their music and their social media, and it's like they're these characters is what it feels like, you know.
But in like some way they they make you feel like you're like homies or something, because you got like the same lingo, you got the same like you say the same thing, you hear the
like
same
soul brothers,
you know? It's like I feel the same way too. Like, man, that's my boy.
It's like we can be friends. I bet you we can be friends. No, I like told people, I was like, if I met Mick Jenkins or like even Isaiah Rashad or something, I'd be like, I bet we would be friends. I bet they would think I was so cool. No, it's just like really funny though.
Yeah, no, those things are like funny because, like I said, you just like from the outside looking in, like you think it's like unattainable.
Well, even
and then the more you like stay in the light, you know, the more you do your thing, you know, you're like, oh wow, like this is a little bit easier than I made it seem to be. Like,
do you feel like it's been like a uphill battle, or do you feel like it's been pretty like easy to get your music out there?
Well, as far as like, I don't know, I never really like thought of like the marketing side of it. So doing music, I purely just done music, just do music. All this marketing shit you seen is just like new. Like I just started doing it. So I don't know, I guess I never really like it's
what made you think of like the switch, or what made you change your perspective about it?
I don't know. It's just something I don't know. It's just being online and then like getting inspired by everybody around here. And then it's like, oh, well, that's what you got to do. You know, it's like, I want to put something out that everybody can see and everybody can enjoy. But I don't know. I've never thought of the marketing side, and just like I said, just being inspired. And I wanted to do cool visuals. Like the thing is, like, I want a cool visual to like, because I've never done, like, I've made music since I was 15. I've done like one music video.
It's a whole different creative process.
Whole different. So it's just something, I don't know. It's just something I never like really thought about.
Yeah. Do you like it?
It's fun. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's really fun. Yeah, I don't know. It's just really fun to do because I like. At first, I'm like nervous with the cameras in front of me, but like the more and more I see the camera, I'm like wilding out now. You know, it's just fun, cool little things.
But yeah, even feeling like you can be friends with some of these people. Like I was able to meet Vel at a show, and she was so real, so fucking cool, and took time to talk to everybody, took time to sign everybody's shit, like having conversations with people, taking their flowers, and really like giving everyone that like one-on-one was so cool. And like, even because I've shouted her out on my radio show plenty of times. I was like, basically I'm obsessed with you. No, but like for real, I love her music, and I want everyone to like love her music as much as I do. So when I was like having my radio show, I was like, oh my God, nobody listens to her. Like, you know, nobody up here listens to her. So I would shout her out. And so when I met her, I was like, hey, like I do a radio show. Like I always shout you out. I always play you on Friday. And she was straight up like, yeah, I know who you are. She's like, I remember, she was like, thank you so much for supporting. And I was like starstruck. I was like, holy shit, you know who I am. I was like, oh my God. And she gave me a big ass hug, and she signed some stuff, and it was just so
that's great,
cool. And I was like, oh my God, like this is all I need. You know, when you can meet like kind of your idol, and you're like, oh shit, like they kind of know me, and like they're so real and they're so nice, and it just makes you want to support them even more. You're like, oh wow.
Yeah, which is, you know, it is dope, because it's like I feel like that's becoming like a more and more rare thing to see. Yeah. People, you know, it's like people are just, they just want to do their thing, make the money, and then, you know,
some people feel like unattainable, unreachable. You're like, oh my God, they're this, you know, star.
Yeah,
you know?
And it's like crazy because the more, you know, people will like notice me, and like it still like breaks my like brain, because I'm like, wait, you listen to that? Like, what the hell? Like, you know, there's like some kids come up like, oh, that Beat Today's tape or whatever, and I'm like,
oh my God, that's so cool.
What? Like, you listen to that?
Yeah.
You know?
Because you reach people you don't think you would.
Yeah. You're going to start experiencing that once you start putting your music out, you know? Because it's like, we get so caught up in the creative process, we don't think about who's listening. Yeah. You know? And then, it's just, that's why I was, you know, everybody tells me, oh, I think I'm going to stop making music. Nobody's really listening. I'm like, dude, don't stop, because somebody's going to hear it. Like, you know, one person.
I'm a strong believer in like consistency, but also like just staying to do and like doing one thing. Like you like listen to people who haven't, like even like rock bands and shit. They'd be like, oh, we're coming back for after 9 years. We've put out an album, and people be like, hell yeah, we've been waiting. Like you just never know who's been waiting to hear your music, or like who is gonna discover you for the first time. You know, like when people like, oh, discover you, but you've been out for a while. Like I think that's always fun when you discover an artist. You're like, oh my God, they're new to me. How long have they been around? Oh shit, they've been around for a long time. And like you get to listen to all of their music. And I think that's also fun. Like finding an artist and like you love them, and like you're like, oh my God, they've been putting music out. And now you're like, I can't wait for more.
Yeah.
You're right. You just never know who's going to listen.
That's why I tell people, like, there may be one kid that needs to hear that message. You got literally. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or and that 5 people needed to hear that.
It goes back to the reason why I wanted to put out music goes back to like doing things for your younger self and doing things for like your like littler version of yourself. It's like, well, I wanted to do this like for her or for like little Albert, you know?
What would it be? Like, what would you tell your younger self right now?
Oh,
like if you had it, like if your younger you was sitting in this seat right here.
Oh, I'd give her a big ass hug first. First and foremost, I'd give her like the biggest hug, and I'd just be like, you know what? Things are gonna be really hard, but you're gonna get through them, and you're gonna be stronger because of it. And probably just tell her like, just like stay true to yourself. Even as cheesy as it sounds, because I was bullied when I was a kid, you know, like I did not have a lot of friends. I did not have a big girl group. I did not have those things until later in my life. So I really cherish friendship and like having good people in your life. And I'd just be like, surround yourself with good people. And I'd just tell her that, like, don't let these bitches play you, because girls are mean. I'd be like, don't let these bitches play you. But yeah, I'd be like, you know, stay true to yourself. And then, yeah, I'd be like, be creative and like, don't be afraid to be creative. Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. Because, you know, if we had like, we always tell ourselves, if I knew this information back when I was
God.
You know, it's like, I think about that all the time.
Everything is going to be okay. Don't worry. Like, but yeah, because I don't want to say everything. Like if I was going to talk to her, like, I don't want to say everything's going to be okay. Because I went through some crazy shit in my life and things are not going to get better from that point. But I think I was such a strong kid. And I just want to tell myself, like, just stay strong and like I think I was so worried about making everyone like me because, you know, I was bullied. I didn't have a lot of friends. So I was so worried about like, how's this person going to think about me? You know, like, what are they going to say? Are they going to like me? And I'd be like, just stop focusing, like, stop worrying about what people think. Yeah. You know, it's like the biggest thing, because years and years go down and like the craziest things people would say about you. You're like, oh my God, you remember that? And like, you know, like some things don't even matter, you know, when you're a kid, and it just, everything feels so important. Like, this is just now, you know, like it's going to be fine. And yeah, if I would have just like let my creative side out more and not be like afraid of it, I think I would be able to like start things a little younger. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure with everybody.
Oh yeah, like,
because, you know, I think I got picked on my, you know, growing up too. And
kids are mean.
It's always because I wanted to be creative. You know what I'm saying? Like I was always been into fashion. I had 3 older sisters, so like that was my friends and like the kids I went to school. That was like a cool thing to do. You know what I'm saying?
Where'd you go to school again? You went
I'm like at the 559 there, like by Fresno.
By Fresno, yeah.
Yeah, it just was not the thing. And I always thought it was funny is because a lot of these kids enjoyed music and enjoyed rap music and enjoyed fashion and shit. Yeah. But as soon as you try to do it, you became like the joke.
Right. Like, why is he doing that? It's weird, you know?
Did you experience some of that growing up as well?
Oh, yeah. No, I had experienced the like whole like burn book situation in my school, like in my middle school. Girls are mean. Damn. Yeah. Like, and when you're a kid and you're like developing, things are not, I was like a tall girl, but like super like skinny and like lengthy and like not growing into my features, you know, like, so really big features, really tall, skinny girl, you know, like the target, just the fucking target. But I was like, I had a lot of friends and I was friends with a lot of the guys. And I think that's like a big thing, because I was just I was like a tomboy when I was a kid, you know, like skateboard. I would skateboard to school, and I just like, I love to get like, you know, dirty and like play and do all this shit. And then when I started getting into middle school and like girls are being girly and doing all these things and I didn't really fit in, it was so weird, because I was like, I don't like I was like, I don't like these things, but I was like, I want to be friends with these girls, you know. And poor Rhi, she did not know what a true friend was. Oh no.
Yeah. Do you feel like, God or the universe puts us through these certain situations because he knows that, like, the level we're going to get to later on in life?
Oh, yeah. That's a great question. Yeah, I'm a big believer in learning things happening for a reason, and like karmic effect, and like even like reincarnation, and like dealing with like your past, sins or whatever. And so I think I was like, oh yeah, I was supposed to learn early on the importance of like compassion and like being nice to someone, because people were so not nice to me and people were so mean. Yeah. And so I think I learned really early on to be like, you just gotta be nice to people, like don't put people down because you never know what they're going through. And so, yeah, even though I would have been like, it would have been nice not to go through that. Yeah,
no, because I feel like we, have to deal with certain things like that because, we make music or, we're artists in some type of way. And, unfortunately, hate obviously comes with the love.
Yeah.
So we have to like deal with that. Like it's all love, when we're on camera and, the fans and whoever watches. But, there's a lot of shit that happens on the back end,
It would be nice. No, you're 100% right. It would be nice to have learned that jealousy when you're younger just means that like somebody is going through something in their own life, if they're jealous and they're mean to you, it's because like maybe they're not doing something, like they're like insecure, And it would have been nice to know that when you're young. You're like, oh, it's not me, it's them, but like when you're younger, like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? Why am I so weird? I was such a little weirdo, and I was a theater kid in high school, so that's even more of like, the weird kids. But all the theater kids were so nice, and I'm still like pretty close with some of those people to this day. And yeah, shout out theater.
Do you think being in theater kind of made you a little bit more comfortable to be on stage while you do your music?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Even like practicing things or like taking something that you have to like read to like people. Because I didn't really like speaking in front of people, but I was pretty good at it. So I think it helped. Because when you're in theater, you got your little script and you got to go through it, and your teacher makes you make all these marks of like, breathe here or like say this loud, Yeah. And you go through like line by line, sentence by sentence, and like being like, okay, I have to say in this way, in this way. And I think it helps give you like direction and like, making sure you have something to pay attention to so you don't get scared on stage, And then like, I love to tell people what to do. So I was like always like volunteering to be a director. I was like, can I be a director of this? And blah, blah, blah. And I think it really helped me be like creative, and it really like planted the seeds of like wanting to like have like, direct and like also be a part of, it like artistically, but also like want to perform, And I was in ballet and I danced as a kid, for years.
So you just growing up, you just was in the whole creative mind state. They put you into that creative mind state.
Oh yeah, I did ice skating. Damn. And I performed with a group.
Wow, damn.
Won a trophy.
There's way more to you than you make seem. You make yourself seem you're a whole lot more. That's so crazy.
I feel like I've had a lot of lives, for sure.
It's like a cat. You think you're on the 9th one yet?
Maybe, hopefully. I mean, no, but...
No, hopefully not.
No, knock on wood. But yeah, I went through a crazy, like, life-changing event that I was like, I had an accident. I was in an accident.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, a few years ago. Well, in 2018.
Yeah.
And, bro, I almost died. Lost my spleen.
What the...
I was in the ICU for a week. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
I read some of the posts that you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just I'm feeling this because it's just different here. Like right here.
It was a 3-car accident. It was insane, and rest in peace the lady who passed away that day. And but I was like, I got in the car accident. Apparently, like due to the force, like my spleen just ruptured, the arteries that go into your spleen like ruptured. And so like I was on the street, like bleeding out on the street, having some like real life flashing before your eyes moments, and like feeling sleepy and you know, all that shit. Like, bro, I was dying on the street. So that also changes everything after that. And like it changed my relationship with music. It changed my relationship with even wanting to put out music, because I was like, bro, I just want to live, like you know. And like even after that, I went through months and months and months of like rehabilitation. Because I wasn't, after I got out of the hospital, I wasn't able to like stand up and sit up and like eat, shower, like regular shit, bro.
Yeah, let alone play, you know.
Let alone play an instrument. And that was when I just started to learn to play saxophone. Was that semester.
Damn.
And so after that, the next semester came up and I had to drop out of like jazz band and like wind ensemble and all these things. And then I healed up, and then the next semester came around and I was like, fuck, I have to go back to school. I was like, I don't even know if I'm ready, but I feel like I have to go back. And I went back and I started playing like then like 6-7 months.
How did it feel coming back playing and like expressing yourself again?
It felt easier. I felt like I wasn't so in my head. Like, oh my, I just felt like I just want to play this damn instrument.
Yeah, it's like, shit, like, I already seen the light.
Literally.
Nothing can scare me now.
Literally. I was like, I'm not afraid. Like, because when that happened to me, you know, thoughts go through your head like, who's going to remember me? You know, like when you start like going through these thoughts, you're like, who's going to remember me when I'm gone? What are they going to remember that I did? Like, what are they going to think about me? What did I leave in this like physical world, like for people to remember? And that shit like kept me awake, you know, like fuck, like, you know, like that's why my relationship with people and like actual physical shit was like really important to me. Yeah. So when I went back to school, I was like, fuck, I just want to make sure I go back to school and like finish for like all the people who couldn't finish school, because I was ready to drop out. Bro, I was ready to be like, I'm done. Yeah. Like school's not for me. It's hard. Yeah. Like getting your degree is no joke. Like getting your music degree is no joke. So I was like, fuck, like I'm not going to be a teacher. Like I'm not that good. You know, like all these thoughts go through your head. Like I can't do this. There's people like that passed me already that I should have been in that point because of what happened to me. And you start thinking about this shit and you're like, oh my God, like I'm never going to catch up. So then after that, I was like, well, fuck it. Like I'm just going to do what I do. And then I was able to like get better and get better and get better. And I was like, okay, now this is going somewhere. Like now I can feel like maybe I want to release some music, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, you know, just speaking on you and speaking, you know, what you've been through, like, your music's definitely going to have a spot in a lot of people's hearts.
I hope so.
And I believe it's going to happen, you know?
Thank you.
I believe so. Because you're being vulnerable and you're speaking on some real topics. Like I said, some real topics and some serious topics. Like my voice is getting a little shaky right now on the mic.
Yeah, because, like, you know, I think it helps that I've been able to talk about this for so long, but when I first started talking about most of these things, or even the accident, like I couldn't even get through the whole story without crying, because it was so hard, so traumatizing, and it was a lot. So now that I'm like at this point, and I'm like, I want to create music for people who've like experienced that much loss and like that much trauma in their life, but I've also like have this like really good outlook on life too, to be like, oh, all this shit happened to me, but I can still like want to have fun and be silly and like also be really respectful of like the people that I love, you know, and the people that are not here with us anymore. And I just want to be like, I want this good balance of like everything in my life.
What would you say would be like your biggest fear the deeper you go off into this music journey? Like, you know, as far as like success wise and all that.
Yeah.
Because it's going to come, you know, we're just going to state that now.
Well, we're planting the seeds. I hope that I can keep like a connection with the people that I originally wanted to like make music for in like the first place. And I hope like I don't lose sight of like wanting to stay consistent. Like right now my biggest thing is like, okay, I'm releasing this song and I want to make sure that the next song I release has enough like has, you know, time and like energy, and like I don't want to like release another thing just to like put it out, you know, like that's my biggest thing is like I don't want to, if I keep putting out music and things go really, really well, I don't want to like put out something that's just like just to do it. You know, I want to make sure like hopefully that every time I put out a song, it like means a lot to me. And like anyway, like if I think it's fun, if I think it's sad, if I think it's like I want to like make sure I have like a deep connection to it. Yeah,
for sure. And that's like that symbiosis, you know, you connect to your art, you know, and it's like when you hear
the flow.
Yeah, when you hear somebody like that deep, you definitely like hear, you know, the soul. You hear what's really inside.
Yeah. And like some of my biggest inspirations, like Amy Winehouse, you know, like you hear her music and you instantly you're like, oh my God, like, this is like her soul is like, you know, troubled, and like you hear that in her music. And that's the shit that I was like, oh, when people hear my songs, I want them to like feel some type of emotion of some sort, which I'm sure everyone wants, you know, but like the music I'm releasing now, hopefully I want to put together like an EP, and it's going to be a lot of like heavy hitting things, like the shit that I haven't really talked about, you know, like the stuff, like I feel like I can't put out something fun or like, you know, I don't know, like trendy
don't put yourself in no box yet.
No, that's true. That's true. You're right. You don't
want to put yourself in no box yet, you know, because you want to show everybody that, you know, hey, I go through this.
You're right.
You know, and I make songs that help me get through these things, but at the same time, I also feel happy, and this makes me want to make these type of songs. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
And it just shows you all your human side, you know? We're complex beings, especially.
That's like, my biggest thing. That's a good point.
Especially being an artist, you know? Especially being an artist, there's so many like layers to us. Yeah. You know, especially to you too. Throw in traumatizing events and being an artist and everything else that goes on. It's like people want to touch down with all that.
Yeah. I think if I were to add to the other question of like what I want to make sure is kind of the same thing is like making sure I show everyone the different sides of myself, and like make sure that they see everything, you know, like your friends would, you know, like your friends know all the different sides of you and they still love you, you know, like type shit. I was like, that's what I hope my fan base would be, is like, okay, we see all these different sides of her and we still love her, you know? Yeah. That's like ideal, I think.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, because, you know, your fan base is not just, it's not a fan base, but it's your community.
Right.
It's your community that pulls up for you. So if you can connect with your community, like that's the biggest thing right there.
Yeah. And I think that's something I'm still learning too, because I've connected with so many different people in different ways. And I think now creating my own little world and like having people be like, oh, here, pay attention to this one thing. You know, I think that's like a big learning curve too right now. So like, where can I find the good balance?
Are you still enjoying the process?
Yeah.
Of like, because you're still figuring stuff out as well, right?
I'm like in the process of like being so excited, but also so like, oh my God, am I doing everything right? And am I like doing these things? And like, yeah, I think my head is like sometimes I'll be sitting on my couch having like chill time. I'm like reading, and then I'll like panic because I'm like, fuck, I should be doing something. And that's like my biggest thing of like trying to do so many things at once, because I'm like nervous, like I'm not working hard enough. So I'm like, I'm just like chilling, you know, getting some outside time, and then I'll be like, oh fuck, like I should be doing something right now. Like I should be like, I don't know, like something productive. And then I'll like be so hard on myself because I'm like, oh my God, you should be working on this. You should be, you know, working on this next idea, or
I think that's just our Hispanic genes.
Making money. Yeah.
I think that's just our Hispanic genes. We be working.
We be scared. Be like, oh fuck, should I be doing something? Like literally it's your day off. Like you're like, oh my God, I should be doing something. Like, no, bitch, calm down. Literally though, like I'll be freaking out. But that's why in this song, I wanted to like focus on something, put it out, and just be like, okay, I want to finish one thing. Because I was telling Eli, I was like, yeah, Eli, I was like, we can record another song and I can go back and forth to see which one I want to release first. And I was like, but I need to finish this one first. I was like, this needs to be the first one. And then everything else from here, I feel like would be easier because I was able to be like, okay, I finished that one thing, you know? And like, even when the first time I recorded it, produced it, recorded the vocals, and then I was like, okay, it's done. Like, just hit upload and like, don't think about it.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like if, you know, like a paper or like something like you're working on, you can keep going back to. Yeah. And you're like, fuck, I can keep like editing this. I can keep, and then it never gets released.
Yeah.
You know, that was like my biggest fear, you know?
That was me as a kid. I was like, work so hard on lyrics, work so hard on everything, and just trying like my hardest, like just to make the most immaculate piece.
Yeah,
you know?
No, you put so much energy into something. Yeah. But yeah, I think my biggest thing, hey, we got a drum circle going on.
Yeah, the drums are here. I'm gonna go close the door real quick.
It's like Jumanji. Live wired.
Yeah, just ignore the little jump circle. They wilding down there. That's crazy. But no, they ain't.
They're going hard. We're about to.
This is your freestyle segment.
Me and
right
Albert
here.
about to go down there.
This is the Albert freestyle. You got some bars on. Just kidding.
No, I'm just kidding.
So where do you So you know this is HipHopHumboldt, right?
Hell yeah.
How important do you think it is to keep like the element of writing and the bars in your music?
So important. That's like my first thing I think about. I think outside of being, you know, a musician, and I think even myself as being a fan, I think I focus more on the lyrics than anything. Like you can love an instrumental so much, but I think once you hear those lyrics, I think is really, really important. Yeah. And for this song, I kept it pretty simple. I didn't want to do too much for myself. So I think the importance of lyrics in hip hop is like making sure like you're real and you say like what you really feel. And then after that, everything, like people who have wordplay, like that's where it gets so fun. Yeah. And like I want to be better at that, you know? Yeah. Like, yeah, that's what I want to like keep learning and keep, you know, creating my craft is like being better, but like how can I say this, you know, in like a cooler way? How can I do this? And I think that's the fun part, you know, of like being a hip hop artist and like writing your lyrics down, because that's like the core of everything.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, if you're like into hip hop, it's important to take the writing style to apply it to like if you're gonna start making like pop songs, or you know, if you can like take that like rawness and like apply it into that, like that's always, you know, it's a good balance, you know, because like you said, you can have a beat where everybody likes it and you know you can just play it and people are gonna enjoy it for what it is, but once you put yourself in there, once you put your voice on it, once you put your experience on it, it makes a whole different thing. Yeah,
even like the way people sound, or even like when they do like little special things, like everyone has their own personality, and I think when you find that in your track, like when I was recording my track, I was like, what else do I want to add? You know, I was just so like thinking like, what can I do? And like all these creative elements came that I never thought about before. I was like, oh, it's like, this is what people, you know, go through when you're like, when you're creating something, because it's literally like out of your head, like, oh, I want to say it and make this sound. And like, you know, and it's so cool to be on like the other side of that. Yeah. Yeah.
So how does it feel being on the other side of the interview this time?
So weird. I want to ask you so many questions. I think I asked you a couple questions and I had to be like, okay, stop.
Well, let's say that was like at the December 2nd show. I was like, you interviewed me and I was like, what about you? You gotta.
I was like, I'm not ready. No, but like I'm so used to like being so invested in other people's lives, but not even their lives. They're just like wanting to make sure like when I ask questions, it's like real questions. Just like, hey, like, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I want to make sure, like, hey, I saw what you were doing, and like, it's really cool that you were doing that. And being on the flip side of it is so weird because you gotta like come up with your answers, and you're like, oh my gosh, you gotta think about my life, and I'm just so used to like listening to people, you know. So now I'm like, oh, gotta
just
talk about myself.
This last year, I've been doing all this practicing and trying to get better at interviewing. So it's like, it just comes out sometimes.
No, dude, it's fun. Like, it's so cool that you're doing this. And
do you find it like you be asking people questions like how your interviews, like you talk to people like how you do your interviews sometimes? Because like sometimes when I'm like don't know what to say, like I'll just be like, so you know, just go into interview mode and like start asking questions.
That's like my default when I'm not feeling social. Yeah, I'll just be like, okay, like what can I talk about right now? Because I'm actually not that I'm antisocial. I just get a little bit of anxiety. I think like most people, you know, when you got to talk to new people, or even in this hip hop show that got postponed, I was going to go and do another project of like similar things and going and like interviewing people. And I was just so like not in like a social mindset. And I was like, fuck, like, okay, I got to like get myself into it. And like, you got to like step into like being social and being like having like conversations, because sometimes it does not come naturally. And you're like, oh my God, like that day I was like not feeling, like I literally just wanted to curl up on my couch and just like go to bed. And so I was like, okay, I gotta get ready. And it was really funny because I wasn't on my phone the entire night. And so like I get ready and blah, blah, blah. I'm like ready to leave. And then I see him like flipping through postpone. I was like, this is what I get for not being on my phone. I was like, oh, this is what I get. And it was like really funny when those things happened, because then I was like, oh, damn, now I'm a little sad, because I worked myself up and I was like writing questions down. I was like being prepared. I was like, I think being prepared for an interview is the biggest thing. Like being conversational and like having a personality is really big, but like making sure you can have your questions to rely on to like set the tone, I think helps a lot. Because there's definitely been interviews where I've gone in, and I won't say which ones, but there's been interviews where I've gone in and I did not prepare that much. Like I know like of the person, I know like kind of what they're doing in the community or whatever, but I don't have that many questions, and we'll just like wing it. And like, oh my God, those days I'm just like, fuck, like I sound dumb. Like I sound so like I sound like an airhead.
The first couple interviews I've had, I'm like, why did you let me do this on my own?
No, bro, literally, because like you're the host and you gotta like guide things, and it's different than having a regular conversation, because when you're having a conversation with your friends, things like go all sorts of places and then it dies down. You're like, you don't really have to stay like pay attention to be like, okay, like back on top, you know, like. And when you're interviewing somebody, what's happened to me like many times, where like you'll talk about something and then they'll respond to your question, and then you'll be like, fuck, wait. You're like, hold on, what did I just ask you? And bro, you just like, you had to be like, oh yeah, like, okay, these were the points. And like, it's a lot different than just having a regular conversation. And that's why now I think it's so fun, because I can be like in control, and I can like, if the person's not feeling like, you know, that open yet, I really like enjoy and like pride myself on my ability to like let them loosen up, you know, like, because people are so scared to come on and like talk on a microphone. And I understand. So I'm like, how's your day? You know, like what you do today? Like, what are you going to do tomorrow type shit? You know, like, I think it's really important to like make sure your guest isn't like comfortable. And like, depending if I know the guest well enough, sometimes I'll bring them like a special drink, or like we'll like have like a sesh after or something, and, or like I'll bring like some food, and it just depends on each guest. You're like, okay, like see like what they like, and you know. Yeah,
I found it hard to like interview somebody that's like super cool. You know, like somebody that's like
who doesn't like talk a lot.
It's
so hard, bro.
So hard. There's there's been a couple interviews where there's like, there's nothing wrong with anybody being, you know, that cool. Yeah. But it's just, they're too cool. You know, and then like it gets to a point where I'm like, what's your favorite blunt rap? Right.
Like, or like, come on. Like, or do you get excited about anything? You know? I think some people's personalities are like that. But also maybe it's like part of being shy. You know, like maybe you're just a little shy and you're like, yeah. This is what
like,
I did.
I don't know. It's like something about it too. Like when you ask a question and then they like actually have a good answer, you're like, yes. Well,
you're like, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Good. No, I think, like being an interviewee or interviewer, like comes so much more naturally than right now, than like putting a song together. Like right now I got to put all like the different sides of myself and be like, okay, let's create something. When it's easy, when I'm playing music, when I'm playing other people's music, it's so much easier to be like, because it's already written down for me. Yeah. You know, it's like sheet music is there, tempo is there, key is there, tells you all the information. Yeah. You know, and you're like, oh, cool, just gotta read it, just gotta play it. And when you're creating your own thing, you're like, fuck, how loud do I want it? How low do I want it? How fast? You're like, all these different possibilities. You're like, oh shit, like this is a lot harder than you know, but it's really cool. And
I'm very envious of that though, of like people that can produce their own music. Like I've produced some of my own songs before. Yeah. They're not songs I don't think I'd ever put out, but you know, I've produced and I've mixed and stuff like that. But like somebody that's like really good at it. Yeah. You know, like I'm real envious of that.
I'm so envious of like those bedroom indie pop stars that like since I do that for work, I'm just like always like looking into like all these different indie artists and all these like cool ass girls making these beats in their rooms and like playing different instruments and doing all these things. I was like, oh my God. I was like, that shit is fucking cool. I was like, oh my God. I was like, this girl, what's her name? Jolly Wolf. I just like watched a live stream like years ago, but she did the song and I love watching people. It's like they do their own like DJ set, but like a live version. Yeah. So they create their song from scratch, but live. Yeah. And so like she'll start the drum beat, boom, loops it. She'll go on the bass, boom, loops it, and she'll start singing. I was like, oh my God, this person's so fucking cool. And I was like, if I can just do that, I was like, that is fire. Like that's so cool.
I think you should get into that because I can see you doing something like that. I can see you.
Yeah, like I need some equipment, and then from there, like, oof, it's over. Like, because I love creating shit on my phone and I love creating different sounds, but I think hands-on, that would be a lot more fun. I just gotta learn some equipment real quick. But
hey, I think you definitely learned all this music stuff. I
love tech, like that's the other side of me that like even in school, even at Cal Poly, I did like a lot of audio tech classes, and I did like work in like the recording booth. So like and in high school I did stage tech. So I was like, I really love the other side of like the tech aspect of it,
So if somebody is like, you enjoy tech and then you enjoy like the actual act of making the sound, what are your thoughts on samples?
Okay, I'm not against samples. Not at all. I know some people are like, no, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. I think if like the artistic integrity is there and you have this really dope idea, I don't think samples are bad. I think I've heard some really bad samples for sure, like terrible. And then there's other times where I'm like, this is fucking genius. Like taking something and making it new. I think it's like the biggest thing is like, if you take something, you sample it and it's basically the same thing. It's like, why'd you even sample it? Yeah. But when you take something, you sample it and you create this whole other fucking different thing from that one little thing, I think that's cool. Yeah. And I think that's like the artistic side that like when some people just like take a sample and just do it, very easy. I think that's like cheating. Yeah. Yeah. Like my girl Vel, she'll always like talk down on people who do covers. And she'd be like, people who do covers, they're cheating. And I love covers. And I think it's so funny. But I think it's funny because I understand where she's coming from. It's like, they're not your words. They're not, it's not your songs. And you can just create however. But there's something about listening to a good cover that's like 100% different than the original one. Yeah. And it just makes you fall in love with the song again. That's the type of shit where I'm like, okay, that's creative.
Like hearing it in a different voice and stuff. And then, because I forgot who it was. This one band, they covered Love by Kendrick Lamar. And I love when bands do hip hop. It's my favorite. Sings it so good. And that's when you start realizing like this guy isn't just a rapper. He's a songwriter.
He's a fucking songwriter. He's a musician. No, like when you listen to songs like that in different styles, or when bands do hip hop, or like when one of my favorite bands, Bad Bad Not Good, they do hella covers of hip hop tracks, but bro, they make it so their own. Like there's such talented musicians, and it makes you just look at the music in a different way. And so like hip hop music would not be hip hop music without samples, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, like there's just no way. Like you just can't be like, oh, you can't sample it. Like, bro, like come on.
I think my favorite sampler, person that samples, obviously, you know, Kanye West, because it's like, how can you take, I've been pondering about this for the last like year. It's like, how do you take a soul song, sample it, and make it sound even more soulful?
Even more so. You know? And y'all can say whatever you want about Kanye, but that man's a genius.
Yeah, musically.
Sonically. Yeah, sonically. No, yes. Yeah, no, there's those types of things. Even when you were saying, even like when you mentioned Tyler earlier, the things he does with music, like he's not just a rapper either. Like he's like, he'll describe himself as a storyteller, you know, like, you know, he putting sounds together type shit. And when you hear his music, it's like more than just the beat and the lyrics, you know, like this guy like thought about everything from the beginning to the end. Like that's the type of shit you're like, oh, okay, like that's cool. That's what I want to be like, you know, like I want to make sure I think about all these things. And it's hard too when there's so much good music out. Yeah. And it's really hard to, because I love music and I don't think I'm like a big critic. I think I like a lot of different things, but there's definitely times where I'll hear a song and be like, yeah, that ain't it. You know, like it ain't it. And so that's, I think, one of my fears of people listening to it. And, you know, not every song is for everybody, and that's fine. And I think finding that like balance of not worrying about what people are going to think, you know? Yeah,
but it's a hard thing to do, especially, you know, a human instinct is, or to
even compare. It's like so hard to not compare. That's like my biggest thing when I was working on this song, or even working on the cover art, or even working on this, because I did everything myself. So even when I was working on the cover art, I was like, what do I want the cover art to be like? It was so weird. I was like, to think about some of these things, like not every artist has their say in every like part of their, you know, musical journey now, but like people who are still DIY, I was like, damn, these people like are so creative. Like think about all these different things, and like it's so cool being, you know, on that side of it, and like being like, I want it to look this way. And you know, I was like on my computer editing my cover art for like weeks until I was like, okay, this is the one, you know.
Some real artist shit right there. Yeah. Some real artist shit right there. So I'm gonna ask you know, pretty deep question. Okay. You know, as a person of color out here in Humboldt, you know, I always say few because I don't know too many of them. Is it difficult for you to find your voice out here?
I think when I first moved out here, it felt like impossible. It felt like there wasn't a lot of women like me, or, you know, there wasn't a lot of like Latinas or Mexicans in Humboldt. It was what it felt like, you know. And even when I came onto campus, even though the campus is super diverse, and honestly, Humboldt, going to school there is so awesome. But I didn't know a lot of people, and I didn't know anything about Humboldt. Dude, when I moved up here, I didn't know shit. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So when I moved up here, I didn't know about like any of the community. I didn't know like anyone. So it just felt really weird and really intimidating, you know, and I didn't feel smart enough. I remember thinking when I first moved up here, like the way I spoke was different, and like people would look at you different. Like, you know, the white kids on campus had like really intellectual ways of speaking, and you're like, oh shit, like what high school did you go to? Like, you know, like I took AP classes too, but shit, like I don't sound like that. And so I think it was just really intimidating coming from like Chula Vista and like going to the high school that I did, and like, yeah, it was a ghetto place to grow up in, and you come to a place like Humboldt and all these different people are in like this big pool of, you know, culture, and then you're like, fuck, I feel like I don't fit in, you know. And it felt really hard. But now on the flip side, I think it's a lot easier, because now I know all these different communities and like, you know, little groups and people who are like make you feel seen, you know, and just like, trying to think of like specifics. But even, one time I was in like Centro del Pueblo. They do a great thing here where they like advocate just for Spanish speaking individuals who are like trying to like acclimate into Humboldt, and they like help, and they have like, you know, their garden, and they have like these different volunteer opportunities. And so when I learned about Centro de Pueblo, I was like, oh shit, like there is a community of Latinos out here that are like, you know, trying to do something out here and trying to like make the people's lives better here. And then when I started becoming like more in tune with like my native culture, I was like, oh shit. And I was like, I'm like in one of the like best places to be a native person, you know, even though like historically no, but like being on the land and being on like this land is super healing. And like there's a lot of crazy shit that happened here. And I think listening to different stories from different women and like learning about everyone's different stories and experiences in Humboldt, I was like, oh shit, we're not that different. Like, you know, so I think in the beginning it was super hard to feel like I had a voice at all. And then I started being on the radio, and then people started like caring what I had to say. And I was like, oh shit, like I do have a voice, and like it is really important what I say. And even now that I'm like on the radio, and you know, I'm the only Latina on K-Slug, you know.
Shout out to that. Shout out to that. Let's see if we get this one in order. Let's see. Shout out to that.
Hey, that was fun. Yeah, I'm the only Latina on K-Slug on air, and I think sometimes I feel like I have a big responsibility of like watching what I say, or like making sure I give good information. And I don't know, it's like a whole thing now. Now I'm like really like, now I know that I have a voice, and now I know like people care and people listen. And so what I say, I'm like, I really think about like, oh shit, who's going to hear me? Who's going to listen to this? And I'm always like, when I'm on air, I was like, you guys are doing great. Like, you know, like pat yourself on the back. You're doing amazing today. Like, I just want to make sure, you know, when people hear me or listen to me, they're like, oh, we can relate. Or, you know?
Yeah. And then definitely like, you know, just even me being, you know, Hispanic, I'm a male, but I still relate to you. Yeah. You know, and that's why I wanted to get those questions from you, because that's, you know, I look up to you in a certain degree, you know. Thank you. So just to see how you move and groove is like something. It's
been hard, but I think the people here in Humboldt, and like also finding yourself in Humboldt, I feel like a lot of us when we come to Humboldt, we're like these lost souls, and we just like show up in Humboldt like half of our true selves, and then we grow, and like, you know, our seeds blossom, and then I meet all these like amazing people, like some of these amazing women, like Soleil, Sarah, you know, she's also another artist up here, and having conversations with her too, and like my best friends outside of, you know, musicians and creators, having other like strong Latina women like my best friend Paris and Karina, like these strong like Mexican women that like have good careers, you know. She's graduated, one of my other friends, she's graduated, and like I think it's really important when you come to a place and you feel like you don't fit in, or like culturally you don't fit in. I think it's really important to like find those friends and like find the people you can look up to and be like, oh my God, like they're doing it, I can do it. You know, like they're being successful and they're like staying true to themselves. You're like, okay, I can do that. Like, I don't gotta pretend, you know, not to be as Mexican as I am, you know. And then now in Humboldt, things are changing. You know, there's taco trucks all over Broadway. Like when we first moved here, or when I first moved here, it was not like that. We're like a language meetup at Familia, you know, like Familia Cafe. They do these language meetups, like language exchange, and I think there's a big community now, like advocating for like making sure, you know, our Spanish speaking community is taken care of. You know, and I think knowing that, I was like, oh shit, that's really, really cool. And I did not know that when I first came to Humboldt.
Would you say that's like a big part of what you do everything for? So like, you know, the next little brown girl can see you doing your thing, you know?
No, literally I tell myself that. I was like, all this shit, like when I'm tired, when I don't want to do anything, even when I didn't want to graduate, when I wanted to drop out, I was like, I got to do this for my cousin. You know, I lost one of my cousins very early as a kid. And, you know, I was like, I do it for her. She wasn't able to graduate. She wasn't able to go to school. And when I take things for granted, like, oh my God, I hate school, or like, oh my God, I hate going to work type shit, I think about like all the other like little brown girls, you know, like you said, like who couldn't do it or who don't have the opportunity, or even like girls in Mexico who don't have like the same schooling or same like being able to be on the radio is a big thing for like Latina women, you know, being on the radio, having your own show in general, you know, it's like,
it's big. That's big.
Yeah. Not a lot of people get to. So I was like, every time I say something, I was like, okay, like I got to make sure like I'm doing this, you know, it's not just for me anymore. Like at first it was fun, but then now that I have people who see what I'm doing, who are supporting, now I'm like, okay, I do these for like the little brown boys and girls who feel like they don't have the same opportunities.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
And especially like in the fields that we are in, like, you know, being Hispanic, people are like, either you like a corridos band or like you're gonna, you know, whatever it may be. And it's like, we're just like, it's like kind of gray area where we have to
you're like the mix of both worlds, of like both generations, you know, like my family is mostly from Mexico. They came over here to the US and now I'm second generation. And now we're like creating this whole different path that like nobody's done before. You know, some people's families, they have doctors in their families. They've had like real roots and shit. Like like people have been doing things for years and years. Like there's not really a lot like that in my family. You know, like people have been, you know, they're in Mexico on their pueblo and they came over here and they went back, you know, like I don't have any like I know there's some musicians in my family, but like any like real roots or anything, it's really hard. So it's like we are the first people who are like putting down, you know, roots and like stories and memories, and it's weird. It you know, like,
and it's crazy because
it feels like you're not doing.
Do you feel like you know, you being in the space that you're in and like seeing, you know, people like me being in the space I'm in, like, do you feel like that's kind of like breaking generational curses?
Hell yeah. Oh yeah. When I see you and I see Dave and I see Imani and I see, you know, even my friends in their field, like my best friend, she's a banker, one of the like only Latina bankers in her little spot, or like when I see my friends like doing big shit and I'm like, that's cool. Like, you know, like we're supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And I think it's inspirational too, because you're like, oh my gosh, they can take up these spaces and they can like get, you know, all this support. And it's so cool that people are supporting them. And it's so cool that like even this show, even like HipHopHumboldt has gotten the amount of support it has from the community in like such a short amount of time. I'm like, wow, like that's cool. Like, I'm like, oh, okay. Like I need to hop on this, you know, like, no, it's so cool because, you know, when I first came up here, I didn't feel like I was part of a community in Humboldt, like facts. Like I was just like, no, I'm just here for school. I'm going to move. And now, you know, now I'm like, oh my God, I'm part of this community. I'm part of the radio community and like the hip hop scene. Like I really want to make sure like, you know, people will be like, you know, Humboldt has a cool thing going on here. And I think our generation are really trying to like preserve that, you know?
Yeah, which shout out to you, because when I first jumped on, I think that was like the first interview HipHopHumboldt had was with you, you know? So
I think so.
Like, that was cool. That was cool.
I heard about you guys and I watched, I think I listened to a couple episodes that David put out, and I listened to your episode and I was like, this is cool. I was like, I didn't know like people in Humboldt were doing things like this. I was like, I was such a big hip hop head. And then I kind of started to like veer in different directions just because of like what I was doing in school and like music and like being in like different music scenes. I was like really into jazz at one point. I mean, I still am, but it's like different focuses. And then now I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like they're doing dope ass shit for hip hop. And like they have all these artists that I didn't even know were in Humboldt. And like all these old heads that I had no idea about, like that have been here holding it down for a long time. And I had just had so much respect after.
Yeah, now shout out to Knack and Eli, because my older brother was listening to him.
That's so cool. That is so fucking cool. Talk about full circle moment.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. I had a chance to have like a short chat with Knack One, and probably one of the best interviews I had of the night, to be honest, because he said some real ass shit, and I was not expecting. Like everyone was like, I was just like, hey, how you feeling? You know, like blah blah blah. And over here, Knack One was like, you know, the people of Humboldt, and he was just like, giving that, just love, and like he cares for the hip hop scene a lot, and he's put in so much time and effort, and I think he just wants to see that. Yeah. And I think he's like, it was so cool. It's like having him say like, oh, thank you for doing this, like, thank you for going around and like keeping this alive. I was like, well, yeah, like, thank you, like, it's cool that I can do, because back in San Diego, it's such a big scene, but I think people don't, have the care that they do with the hip hop scene. Yeah. Back at home, it's like dog eat dog world. Yeah, and it's all rah-rah. Everybody's on that rah-rah shit. Exactly. So it's like, I'm better than you, blah, blah, blah. I got nicer things. I'm cooler, I'm doper. Like, it's competition back home. And, like, that's just how it is. So I think up here, there's so much room for everybody. Yeah. And it's like, there's competition, but, like, in a good way. Yeah. Like, everyone just wants to see everyone do good. Yeah. Yeah, and that's one thing I really, really like, and I always bring it back to like an ecosystem. Which, it's like, for sure, everybody has to work together to make things go around and for everybody to eat. Yeah. And that's why I call that's why I was calling Humboldt the ecosystem, because like I said, it's like we're all a piece of this puzzle that's making it happen, making these wheels turn. Facts. And that's. We have no room for like no jealousy. We have no room for no beef, because it's like if one person's out, then this whole thing's gonna start kind of right. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I think you're a big part of that too, of the whole ecosystem, because to get that is a big deal, getting interviews and like talking to these artists and like getting, because they're not just artists, but they're real people, and you're getting real people's stories. That's like what I love to do, interviews of like, they're not even small artists to me. They're just like beginning on their journey, and they're just doing their thing. And it's, for me as like a person who loves to see like someone's creative journey, I'm just like, I want to pick your brain. And I was like, I want to know like what drives you and like what makes you do these things. Cause it's so hard to have motivation in this fucking world. Like it's so hard. And so when I want to interview my friends and people I've, had in school and people I see out in the community, like, when I saw Imani perform, at your show, at Albert Presents, I think in the Redwood
was it one of the
retro
first ones, huh?
Yeah, one of the first ones last year. Yeah. In the beginning of the year, I saw Imani perform, and I was like, holy shit, this girl's a star. I was like, she's so cool, and she had like, I was like vibing with the songs. I didn't even know the songs. I was like, I'm fucking vibing. And so she got off the stage, and it was so cool. She was with everyone, and she was chilling with everyone. And then I went up to her. I was like, hey, like, you should come on the show. I would really love to like sit down, and same thing, pick your brain, and also like meet you, and like we became friends after that. And I was like, this is why I love interviewing people, because you see someone, they inspire you, and then you get to sit down and have a talk with them, and then you get to be their friend. Yeah. I was definitely like, hell yeah. I was like, this is how I'm making all my friends now. Like, and I've met so many people being able to like sit down and then having those talks. It's like, it's not a talk that you have like normally, like you learn so much about someone when you interview them, because you're like, oh shit, like that's cool. I didn't know that about you. And even when I had this little podcast with my friend, and we haven't put out an episode in a while because she had a baby. But even when I was doing my little podcast with my friend, it was so much fun to like ask my best friend questions that I've like never asked. Like we were sitting down like this, like we never sit down like me and my best friend, like, and it just felt so formal. And I was like, tell me about this, and tell me about the way you grew up. And bro, it was so like, you learn so much about somebody when you do it that way. And I was just like, holy shit, like, I didn't know that about you, like, it's so cool, and it's so fun, and I hope I can keep doing it.
I hope you keep doing it, because, we spent the hour talking about your music, and we just spent the whole other talk about just interviewing, and
I'm excited for 2024.
Hell yeah. I'm excited for you, because, like I said, just since the interview, meeting you, and just seeing how good you've been doing with radio, it's truly inspiring.
Oh,
thank you. It's truly inspiring because I love seeing a brown woman winning.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
Thank you, man.
I love seeing it, and
that makes my heart happy because you, at the end of the day, when you create something, you don't know who you reach, and you don't know like who's looking and who's following. So that means a lot.
For real. And that's why, of course we want to get you on here because you got this fire track dropping.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to touch down with you and, kind of we've been talking about doing the flip, you coming on the show for a while. So it's, it's nice to have you here now.
Glad to be here. Everything works out. Today's a perfect day to sit down and chat with you. And yeah, it's been fun. And speaking about the new song and being Latina, I actually have, some Spanish lyrics in there.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't know if I wanted to do that or not,
Yeah.
Because I was like, I've never sung in Spanish, like I've never done that before. And so I was like, fuck it. Like, we're going to do it. So I'm super excited.
Definitely got to represent, got to represent for the brown people, La Raza, you feel me?
Hell yeah.
That's why I'm saying I just love seeing it, just doing the interviews, putting yourself on stage.
Thank you.
Getting yourself through college. You feel me? Like, these are all big.
But we can talk about that for a whole other hour. Oh my God. Yeah, school. Yeah, it was crazy, and I'm really proud of myself because there was definitely, like, even going through COVID, even like Zoom classes, bro, that shit was rough.
Yeah.
Like doing music through Zoom was not it. Everyone was like looking at each other like we're not learning shit. Like we're not learning nothing. But shout out to my teachers. They actually like held me down. They're like, Rihanna, you don't have that long. Like, just finish, girl.
See the light, you're right there.
And I was like, you're right. Like, I don't want to come back. I was like, no, like, I should just fucking finish because I don't want to come back and do this. And I'm really, like, if there's one thing, like, I don't do much, even though, like, I hope I do. But if I don't do much, I can at least say, like, bro, I graduated and I did that. And, like, that was one of the hardest things I've ever done, like, to this point.
Yeah.
Other than, surviving
Hey,
life.
it ain't easy. Like, it ain't easy.
And I was really proud of, like, you put so much time and effort and years into something, and if you can finally say that you finished it and you got something out of it, like, I do so many projects, it's, like, hard for me to, like, say something, but, like, I'll be like, I finished that,
Killed it.
Hell yeah.
Man, I enjoyed talking to you.
Me too.
And I feel like we could talk for so much more longer.
Thanks, man. This is chill.
I really, really appreciate you coming on here. Are you going to be having any visuals soon with your singles and
visuals?
Music?
Self-made. Yeah, a lot of DIY is going to be happening in like this first single. And then after that, I would love to work with other like video creators because I have all these ideas, but I don't know how to put them. Because I'm not like really into like videography and photography. It's like one thing that like I don't have that much knowledge of. Editing, can edit something. And so I would love to work with like other people to like put these different like visions that I have. And a lot of the things I'm just like, it's just me and my phone. You know, we just out there and I have this idea of like, oh my God. Or I'll like tag something up and like take a picture. Like, And I think I love DIY, but I think for this next year, I really want to like start collaborating with more people.
Ramping it up a little bit.
Ramping it up. Yeah.
I feel that because a lot of the beginnings, like beginning visuals and all the shit that I did was same thing off my phone. Yeah. I used to run to the beach in the morning. Yeah. Just, you know what I'm saying?
No, yeah. But then you start thinking about it in a different, like in a business mindset, and you start, wanting, but then like also creative and business wise, you start being like, I want to put this, I want other people to see this in a different way, and I think if you have, really creative visuals, it like enhances the song, because you're like, oh my God, like it sticks in your memory, but I'm thinking actually of like a lyric video.
Hey, that'd be cool. Or you should get you like an animation artist just to give you like a little gift or something.
Like, something like that.
I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited to see it. What are you excited for as 2024?
That's a good question. I think like putting myself out there, because it's like I'm like scared, but I'm so ready, and I'm like in a part of my life where I feel ready, and I feel like all the work that I've done is like leading up to this one point. I'm like, well, there's nothing else to do but this, you know? So I'm excited to release my first song first and foremost. I'm excited to see what my family and my friends have to, like, their reactions, you know, exciting. Like what they're going to say and like, you know, and then after that is like planning more shows and planning more things with radio. And I don't know, I'm excited for the year. It's weird. Like, I'm scared because people, you know, the world, it's like, there's a lot of bad shit happening in the world. A lot of terrible shit. So there's like these two sides of me. They're like, oh my God, I want to make sure I'm like focused on all these things. And then there's this other side. They're like, I got to push myself. So I think I'm excited to like finally do something like creative, like musically, to put something out and to work on something for this year, because I've never done that before.
And I think it's important to, like, even though there's this chaos going around, like all around us, no matter what, like we can't escape it, but like the fact that we keep creating, or the fact that you keep creating amazing work, you know, like that's important, because you think about, you know, the past of, like, you know, the 60s, 70s and stuff like that, where there's heavy war, but then we had some of the greatest musicians around that time.
No,
you know?
You're so right.
And so it's like, it's important that, you know, that you're creating as well through this chaos.
Because you never know who's going to remember. Like, no, that's so true. I think it's good to, you know, put ourselves out there during this time and like be like, okay, this is what I'm going through, and like other people are not alone. Yeah. You know?
And do you ever get like the sense of feeling like when you come to like one of the shows out here, and you know, we see some of the similar faces, you know, and it kind of feels, do you feel like it's a safe space there? Because that's like one of the safe places I can be.
Yeah. I feel like I'm most myself, you know, and like, I can get, you know, anxiety and like, you know, talking to people is scary, but I think I'm most myself in like those situations for sure. Yeah. And I think the shows around here, even recently, even the people that go to the shows, I think, you know, kind of the same people start going and like the same crowd starts showing up. And I think I really like that here in Humboldt, because like it makes you a little bit more comfortable. Yeah. You're like, okay, like I think these people are so open to, you know, the process. Yeah. They're not going to be like shouting some like rude ass shit or something. Like I feel like this is the spot to like hone your craft and like gain, you know, your fans and gain a following, and really practice. Because I think Humboldt has really good places, I think really good opportunities, and a lot of opportunities to perform. Yeah. Which I don't know if a lot of places do, but you know, there's a lot of like live shows here. Yeah. And like people love live music here in Humboldt. Like they love the live music. Dude, that's our jam. And so I think being at those shows, definitely, like I feel that. Like I feel myself, and it's fun too. And it's like people that you don't know all their music, so you're still like learning,
still figuring them out,
you know, so it's like I actually have to watch. You know, whereas like if you're going to another show, you're just like, okay, I know how it's gonna be, and I'm like here to like do other things, or you know, whatever.
For sure. And is there so one of your, like, somebody you listen to out here that's like one of your favorite artists?
One of my favorite artists.
I mean, out from Humboldt
right now, I would have to say I've been listening to a lot of my friends. I've been listening to my friend Soleil Faye, and Imani, definitely Imani. Just like seeing her journey and like being able to sit down and talk with her and like seeing how she's come, I'm just like really inspired. Like, holy shit, this woman's working, you know? And I was like, I want to work that hard. Yeah. And then my friend Soleil, seeing her musical journey, I talked to her also when she released her first song. I had her on Humboldt Hot Air when she released her very first song, and like seeing her grow and like seeing like how she's moved and like everything she's done. I'm like, oh my God, like it's so cool to see, and it's so inspirational. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, I just wanna keep following your guys' journey, and like seeing them get better too, you know, is like what I really like. And I'm like, every new song is like a new journey that they're having. And since I know them on like kind of a personal level, I'm like, oh my God, like this is cool.
Yeah.
You know, like this is a lot more deep and meaningful than, you know, listening to someone that's just like, yeah, like I love this song. But like when you see it and when you talk to these people like every couple months and you see them in person, you're like, oh my God, like keep it up, you know, like, and even other musicians, like people I play with, like musicians like Rebecca Lopez or Dulcie Fenstein, a lot of people who were in my class, and I can't like name everyone's first and last name. I'm gonna be like, so, you know, Paul Murcia and Pablo Murcia, and like a lot of the people I was playing with after I graduated, they're like a really big influence and just keep me like, because like I said, I'm like, they're such talented musicians, and like it kind of keeps me on like check, you know, like. Yeah. Okay, like I want to make sure like I'm still like doing my shit and not falling behind. Yeah. You know?
Keep you up on your keep you on your toes.
Keep me on my toes. So when I have trouble, I like look at these people. I look at people in Humboldt, even some other artists that I can't fucking remember right now, you know, like even other artists or musicians that I see, or like the California Poppies, you know, they're doing dope shit out here. They did their show at the Minor, and they filmed it, you know, they filmed it 100% live. Like when I see shows like that, when I see artists like that, I'm like, oh my God, like just keep doing you, like just keep doing. And I love like looking at that, and like that's what keeps me, you know, the most inspired.
See, I think that's a lot, like me and you are a lot similar in the ways of like, we're a fan of these people out here. You know, because I don't just interview, but like I'm a real fan of them. And I listen to these artists' music, you know. I say like one of my favorite artists out here probably be like Reef. Just he's got bars and he's got the melody thing, you know. So I like
he's got the bars and he has, you know, like creative direction. Yeah. Like he is very different songs, which I really like. And I love that his fans fuck with that too. When I see him live. Yeah. And when you see people like, he'll do a hip hop song, but then he'll do like more of like an alternative, you know, and you're like, bro can like jump from like different things.
He's a super chill dude. Yeah. He's a super chill dude. I've never met him,
but yeah, like it's...
Yeah. Hey, we might have to set that up, but he's a super chill dude, and he's like super funny too. But yeah, as far as like somebody I'd be listening out here, like Reef's one of them. Height, of course, my brother Height. I listen to him all the time.
I had like a really good conversation too with Height, and like some of these people that you hear their names, and then you finally like get to have these conversations, you're like, oh, like you really think about this, you really care about the hip hop community.
Yeah. And that's one thing about Height. My brother Height is he's real passionate about hip hop. You know, he's real passionate because, you know, it's like it's his life. You feel me? And when it's somebody's life, they're gonna get real passionate about it.
Or when I got to sit down with Rhi too,
my brother Rhi,
he's inspirational in like the aspect of like mind and body connection. You know, like you don't meet a lot of people who really, really care about mind, body, soul, you know? And like when I sat down with him, I had like a really eye-opening conversation with him. And we had like a really cool talk. And it was really interesting to see his like perspective about his music, or, you know, even performing, and like how he gets ready, and like, you know, his breath technique and different shit that he thinks about. So it's like really cool to see these different like parts of these people, and like see what really makes them click, and then like it comes out in their music, and you're like, okay, like that's what I want to create. Like you're so invested in one thing, and then it comes out in your music, and you're like, okay, everything goes together. Like you know. And I think it's inspirational to see him, and like the way that he like tries to keep himself so grounded. Yeah, no, I love seeing my brother Rhi perform. And it's like just his voice makes him sound so much bigger than what he is. You know? No, seriously. And even his last performance, I told him at the ATL, like that was the most hyped I've ever seen him perform with the full band.
It was cool, right?
And he was like, I don't even know what happened to me. Like he's like, something just came out of me on stage. I was like, yeah, bro, we saw that and it was sick. It was so cool. Like I just see this burst of energy, and I think being able to like know these people on those two different levels is really fun to see.
Yeah, it was that little December show was cool.
Oh,
it was cool.
Oh my God. Cool. It was so awesome. Talented people, object heavy, even like the musicians here.
The musicians killed it. And it's so crazy because they learn these songs. They learn like, what? They had 20 artists. Each artist had two. They learned 40 songs in like 2 weeks.
That's what I love about artists, man. I mean, musicians, like real musicians. When you get to play with people like that, you're like, these are like the smartest people I know.
Yeah, so then I could have just gave them, a fucking track that everybody loves. I could have just gave them like the Find Out and, shit like that. But then I was like, dude, like these people are working. Like, I want to give them something that's like easy to translate.
Right.
Like easy to translate over. So the ones I sent them were like, I felt like this would be like easy for me to perform and easy for them to like pick up, But
that's even that creative process is like so awesome because they're taking this track that's like never been performed like live with a full band, and they're just taking it and they're just like making like magic.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was super fun. Like I said, when you were interviewing me, I was like, I'd never done this before. It was exciting.
No, it's definitely on my bucket list, like to perform with a full band. Like I've performed with a full band for sure, but like my own song, that's like probably a whole different feeling.
And that should be like way easier too, because you're gonna be able to like direct everything, because you made the music, right? So it's like you can just get one of your friends to play keyboard, get another and say, hey, this is what I played over here.
Yeah.
And that's like I said, that goes back to the envious. I'm envious of that. Like I'm envious of that because like to me that's like the real magic making.
Yeah.
Right there. Like that's like the real secret sauce. You feel me?
Yeah, secret sauce. I think anyone can learn to an extent producing, because I think we all have these sounds in our head like constantly, and I think just being like having these different like soundboards and different keys and synths and everything, and you're like, oh, there's this sound and it's been stuck in my head and now it's here in physical form. It's strange, so strange.
The hustle and flow. I got this beat in my head, man. I got this beat in my head.
Literally, every musician.
Yeah, no, it's just been fun.
Yeah.
Well, shit, we're gonna take this time right here. Like, I'm like, once again, I'm happy you came and we had a good. I think we had a really good conversation. We dove a little bit deeper than we did last time we did. Met up, and it was
unexpected,
cool.
but good.
Yeah, and we touched on some really good topics, I think. So, once again, thank you for coming to the show.
Yeah,
like I really, really appreciate it. Somebody that I look up to out here.
Happy to be here.
And the floor is yours right now. Let the people know what you got going on.
Yeah. All right, Butterfly Souls, very first single, will be dropping January 26th, so this upcoming Friday, on all streaming platforms. So you can check it out on Spotify, Apple Music. It's going to be Rhi Marie, Butterfly Souls. And I guess every Fridays from 1 to 3, I do my hip-hop show, the Ghetto Time Machine, on Humboldt Hot Air. So you can go to HumboldtHotAir.org and you can click on the program schedule, and every day, every hour, there's a different DJ, different host. So there's talk shows, there's podcasts like the Rude podcast, there's my show, it's like a music show, and then sometimes I have guests on there, and so it's a bunch of different shit, and it's so cool. I love Humboldt Hot Air. So every Fridays 1 to 3, and then that's what I be doing. Some other stuff.
You hear that? My sis be working out here.
We
working hard.
And
such an inspiration.
Something this year that hasn't really started yet, but hopefully something this year to unite women in music to be started.
Oh yeah, speak on that.
Yeah,
we need that for sure.
Yeah, I've had this idea and I'm working on it with somebody else, but to create this group of women, women in radio, women in music, and that's a big thing. And I want to create this community for people to come and women to meet, weekly or monthly or some shit, and spread their ideas and contacts and meet up with people that you never even knew before. So hopefully, I had this idea last year, but then everything was happening, and then I was trying to get the song out. And the holidays, and I was like, hey, we're going to wait. So hopefully we can do that this year.
Hey, it's gonna happen. Yeah. You already said it. It's happening.
It's happening.
Right on. Shit. Well, thank you again for coming through.
Thank you.
Hanging out
grateful.
and talking music.
Hell
y'all heard it here first. January 26th, right?
Yeah.
Go get that. Thank y'all for listening, and we'll catch y'all on the next episode of Hip Hop Humboldt.
Bye.
Beep. Hold up. We gotta get one more in. Hey. Peace.